Hello, good evening. So this is session number 49 today in this series of sessions for SBI PO prelims, and this is probably the first or the second session, I'll say, in which we'll not be discussing any formulae, any mathematics, any English, nothing, but just about strategy and the way forward. Fine. So after orientation, after day one, this is the first such session in which we'll not be doing anything strictly academic in nature, and it'll just be about some interaction with you. So the agenda for the session is simple. This is about the prelims that you are supposed to take after around 2 weeks now. Fine. So I'll be talking about some basic things that you need to do, about your strategy in terms of what you need to do in terms of padhai, kya padhna hai, and also in terms of how to take the tests. And towards the end, then we'll have a lot of discussion on subjects that you wanted me to discuss. Fine. So there are a variety of questions that students posted in our FB group. I'll take all of them, plus anything else that you want me to discuss here today. Fine. So that's the broad agenda for the session, plus anything else that you want me to discuss today. Anything. So it's a 1.5 hour session. I can extend it if you want. Let's try and finish the agenda. Fine. So before I start speaking, again, it'll not be gyan in the sense that I want it to be interactive. So you can keep pitching in between, and just don't keep writing anything which I cannot read. So when I ask you to type, then you type. Otherwise, there's an agenda for the session, right? So we proceed like that. So before I start, that's the first thing, this thing that I wanted to discuss with you today. Whenever you talk about any exam that you need to take in the coming days, the first thing that you need to do invariably is to check the previous papers, fine, which we already have done. We have done the research, you have done the research, and check the previous cutoffs as well. So my agenda here for the session is very simple. I'm not going to give you or tell you anything that's going to help you in CGL or CAT or SBI PO mains even. I'll just stick to SBI PO prelims. I know that all of you are smart people. Many of you would just do very well in prelims, but still you have bad days in exams, and I do not want this to happen with any of you. So that's the reason we'll stick to prelims for these next 10 days. Our strategy would revolve only about prelims, primarily about prelims. Even if you're doing very well, nobody should miss it. If you miss it, you waste 1 year, right? So with this, I'll proceed this. Look at this table now. This is very simple. All of you understand what this is. Here, if you look at this, this is SBI PO 2015 cutoffs and SBI PO 2016 cutoffs. So PO, in prelims, this was 2015 where this test was introduced, the prelims test, and so there have been just 2 such tests, 2015 and 2016. So this is all the data that we have regarding the prelims now. Fine. So if you look here, the good thing about prelims, the last 2 prelims papers have been that the papers have been very similar, very similar. Fine. If you look at the cutoff, they were almost identical, 47.5, 47.5. The difference is, even the you know about the pattern, that is similar, and that was exactly the same. In fact, this was 30, this was 35, and this was 35 questions, and this is going to be exactly the same this year as well. There is just one change here. I mean, if you talk, if you talk about these individual sections, there was just one major change. If you look at English, this was 5.75, went up to 8.75. People say that it was marginally easier in 16. I do not know what's going to happen in 17. But one reason why it shot up from 5.75 to 8.75 is that when you have seen a pattern already, you get comfortable with it and you tend to score higher. So if I kind of assume that this pattern remains the same and the difficulty level also remains the same, good chance that it will shoot up slightly. So do not think it will be 8.75, it might become 10 or 11 as well, because you get comfortable taking the tests on those lines and it's going to be like that. So same was the case with quantitative aptitude, almost the same pattern, almost everything the same, difficulty level and everything, and the cutoff just shot up slightly. So it might go up if the pattern remains the same. The major change, one change that happened in these 2 years from 15 to 16 was in this reasoning ability section. Fine. The change was, I'll discuss it in detail later. The change was that this test here had a lot of puzzles as compared to this 15 test, and as a result the cutoffs came down. I mean, that's the only possible reason that we see here. Otherwise everything else remains the same. On a broad level, the pattern was exactly the same. This cutoff would have shot up, and this also shot up, had there been, you know, just 2 or 3 puzzles like 15 and not 5 like 16. That's what I firmly believe. So I can say this with certainty that if the pattern remains like this and the difficulty level also remains like 16, the cutoff would be higher than 47.5. So I'm not scaring you, I'm just, you know, doing a reality check what can happen. But the fact is that nobody knows what's going to happen with the pattern. It might be same, it might be different, it might be very different. You actually do not know. There is one thing that I wanted to, you know, share with you. That's a kind of a gut instinct, that's a gut feeling. I do not think it's going to change much. There is one very simple reason for that. If they change it much, the people who take the test on the first day would be at a, you know, at a huge disadvantage. They are still at a disadvantage. I'm not, you know, discouraging, dissuading you. You are smart people, you will crack it. It does not make a difference, much of a difference. But if they change it much, for example, if they, let's say, give you 35 arithmetic questions, there will be a huge disadvantage for people who take it on the first day, specifically the people who take it in the first lot. So that's why I'm not expecting a change that's as big as this one. The change which happened in 2016 mains paper, I mean, the English was just out of that word. So I do not think anything like that's going to happen, but a small change here and there might happen. So just be prepared for that. Having said that, I do not think it's going to change much, but just be prepared. Now the thing that we'll do is that I'll straight away come to the 3 sections individually. Fine, I'll, you know, take up all your queries along with it. So just be a little patient. I'll answer them myself. If I do not address something, that you can type here. Fine, so I am taking them one by one, all the 3 sections, because you have a lot of doubts about what to do in which section. So I'm just taking all these sections one by one here. So this is, let me just come back on screen. So this is your this is the first thing that appears in the paper, that's English language, 30 questions. A lot of people have a lot of problems in this, mushkil hai, too many negatives and all, so we'll deal with that later. Fine, first let's, you know, just quickly see the pattern and what has appeared in the last 2 years and where I think you can score in this test. So let me just remove myself and you know, kind of look at the pattern here. So this is what appeared in 15 as well as 16. I mean, if you ask me, nothing changed from 15 to 16 here. Maybe some you know, difference in the difficulty level. People said 16 was slightly easier. I do not know. If the pattern remains the same, then also it looks easier to you. But the fact is that this was 10 questions with 4 synonym, antonym type of questions. Fine, so this remained the same. 5 fill in the blanks, 5 close test, 5 parajumbles and error spotting questions. So it was like that in both the years. Good chance that it would remain like that. English was a section which changed a lot in last year mains. Fine. So I mean, again, I'm not scaring you. Do not be scared or anything. You cannot rule it out that no such thing would happen here in prelims. Nobody has control over them, so anything can happen that way. But a good chance that it would be the same. This pattern would remain the same. If this pattern remains the same, the cutoff that was, you know, around 8-9 marks last year can shoot up to 10 or 11 as well. So just keep that in mind. This is for all the people who just devote 10 minutes to English to clear the cutoff. So just keep that margin of you know, 2-3 marks here and there. I mean, one is that in English you will get some negative marks invariably. It will always happen. Fine. So do not just aim for 10. You know, look for some 12, 13, 14 marks if you want to be safe, considering that, you know, or assuming that the difficulty level would remain the same. If it changes, then you have to deal with the paper on its merit. So just keep this in mind. If you ask me what to do in this paper or what to do now specifically about English language, so first I'll tell you what to do. I mean, if you ask me, you do not need to study any grammar here. Fine. So at this stage, if you ask me, kya padhna hai, grammar padhni hai, I'll say no. Not at this stage. Not at this stage. Do not do it. Do not waste your time. What do you do? Reading. Again, Samir keeps saying that, I keep saying that all the time. A lot of reading. Why reading? Reading because it gets you into that groove. Fine. What happens is that when you do a lot of reading, if there is something incorrect, fine, it starts clicking to you. Fine. So that's the reason why I say I do a lot of reading these days. At least 2 hours daily, random stuff, editorials, things that contribute to your general awareness as well, and all such things, but do a lot of reading. It would help you in all these question types, believe me, all the 5 question types. One thing that is, you know, slightly related to grammar here is error spotting questions. You get them right by reading. believe me. So do not get into a Wren and Martin, at least at this stage. Do not do that. Just read a lot. Just read a lot. When it comes to what to attempt in the paper and what to practice for error spotting, okay, I'll tell you first. For this question type, error spotting, there is just one advice for all of you. Do 100, 200, 500 questions of error spotting. What would happen in the process is that you would know what are the common kind of errors that generally occur in these exams. I mean, I've seen people like Himalaya sharing a lot of ebooks on error spotting and everything on the group. Fine, go through them. It can be done very fast. For example, if you're looking at error spotting questions, just read the question, look at the answer, read the question, look at the answer. You will know what are the kind of errors. So do not waste a lot of time debating whether this is correct or not. Even if one answer is incorrect out of 50, it's not going to make a huge difference. But on the whole, you would get better at spotting the errors. So do some 200, 300, 500 questions. It will not take much time. Fine, probably 1 minute per question. It will help you in error spotting. This is, I think, definitely going to come, and it can be done fast. So 2-3 minutes, 5 questions. You do not think about it. You just mark the answer like that. Now, for me, the most important part in this or the most scoring area, the where you can do fast would be these two: fill in the blanks and close test. In fact, if you ask me, I would start the paper with these two: fill in the blanks and close test. Can be done very fast, 5 questions, 2-3 minutes, not more than that. If I were you, I would start with these two, and I would have probably done 10 questions in 5 minutes. Fine. I do not know if I'll get 10 correct or 5 correct or 3 correct. That depends. 3 correct would be a disaster. Fine. If I get 7-8 correct in 5 minutes, I've got some marks under my belt. I'll start with this. So this so if you want me to prioritize what to do in English, I'll do this first. Fine. This 2. This becomes 3 for me, and all these can be done very quickly. So these 15 questions, not more than 7 minutes or so. After that, if you are not very fond of para jumbles, you can leave it for later, fine, and then you can jump to RC. Or I mean, the order would remain the same. If you have got a different strategy, you can stick to it, but this is what I would do, because I can do it fast. This becomes 1, this is 2, this is 3, and between these two, you can choose what to do. If not everything, probably what you should definitely do in RC would be those 4 questions of synonyms and antonyms. I mean, that's something that if you know, you know. You do not know, you do not know. Fine. So at least look at them if you are not keen on doing those 6 questions on RC first. So this is about English. If you start with English, I will definitely not advise spending more than 10 to 15 minutes at English in the beginning. Fine, 10 to 15 minutes, not less than around 20 attempts in these 10-15 minutes, and then you move to the next section. Do not spend 20 minutes and do all 30 in the beginning. I'm not saying do not do all 30, you can, but if you want to do all 30, come back to it later. Fine, do not spend the first 20 minutes on this. You do not know what is in store when it comes to reasoning and quantitative aptitude. I hope you are getting me. I will also tell you how to go about the order section selection and all, which to do first, which to do later. That all depends on you, but I will tell you my advice on that. Fine, so do you get it? You need to read a lot for English. Fine, the order would be fill in the blanks, close test, error spotting, and then para jumbles and RC in whichever order you think it suits your strategy. I am moving to the next section, which is quantitative aptitude. Now in quantitative aptitude, for me it's very simple. If the pattern remains the same, look, everything that I say comes with a caveat here. If the pattern remains the same as it was in 2015 and 16, fine, I would go with this. The first thing that I will do in this paper would be these two, this and this. This is 10 marks for your taking. I mean, this is so simple. Samir worked out so hard on this, and all of you are like so very comfortable with this. This is, good chance they would not appear in the mains. So make hay while the sun shines. Abhi aa raha hai, score on this. You will get these 10 marks in 5 minutes flat. And this is not like English. You will get solid 10 marks. So you start with this invariably, because I do not see this or this getting very tough. Fine, it would not get very tough. It would, probably can vary 10, 20%, 30% in the difficulty level, but it will never be very tough. So these are the first 2 that I will do. After that, it depends on what you are more comfortable with. It can be number series. Number series, the problem is that you should not get stuck here. So if it's a question that's not clicking in 20-30 seconds, just move on. So there are people who have seen do all these 5 questions in 2 minutes again. If you can do it like this, do it after simplification, approximation and comparison of variables, or even before that. But there are people like me who get stuck in number series. I'm not fond of this topic. I'll probably get stuck in 1, and that one wastes a lot of time, because I'm not very good at leaving the questions midway. That's a weakness that I've identified in myself. So you identify yours as well. So this creates a problem at times in number series. So just be conscious of that. If you do not get 1 or 2, just leave them and move forward. After that, it'll be DI for me. With what I have seen in the last 2 years papers, This is very, very simple, very simple. I mean, it's so simple, you can again do it, these two sets, all these 10 questions writes in 6-7 minutes, not more than that. And the last thing to do would be miscellaneous problems. Again, needless to say, you would not do it, so it becomes 1, 2, or I mean, just like that, you can do anything. So this becomes the next one, and this is the last thing to do, miscellaneous problems. Fine. So if you ask me, I am fond of miscellaneous problems, I am fond of arithmetic, but looking at this question paper, assuming that nothing changes here, and it's exactly the same, I will do miscellaneous problems last. Why last? When I look at a problem of simplification, approximation, what is the data given? You know, it's very simple, just it's like this, just one line. If you look at a problem, a miscellaneous problem, it's just 4 or 5, it's 4 or 5 lines of data. So when it's so much data, it's actually going to consume a lot of time doing miscellaneous problems. So you read it first, it takes 30 seconds, 20 seconds, then you crack it. If you are good, another 30 seconds. So the whole process from starting to read the question to marking the answer, punching in the answer, it takes a minute. Fine, if you're good. If you're not good, tab to koi baat hi nahi hai. I mean, do not talk about it. So this is something that I'll leave for the end, even if you are good at it. So I do simplification, comparison of variables, which is invariably quadratic equations in case of this paper, then probably number series very quickly for 2 minutes, and DI sets, and then I go to miscellaneous problems. So that's the order in which I would do the questions in quantitative aptitude. Now I'm not saying you do all these 35 questions in one go. No, I'll come back to it later. I'm just telling you the section, the order of doing the questions in this particular section. So you might come to miscellaneous problems at the end of the 45 or 50 minutes. Are you getting me? So it happens. I mean, there is nothing wrong with it. So what I'll advise is, I mean, if you ask me about how to manage the sections, probably 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, like this, something like this, it works for people, and the rest 15 minutes, wherever you think you can maximize the score, and you can pick these sections according to what you are more comfortable with. So it can be a strategy as well, but do not think about doing all 35 even you are very good in quantitative aptitude in one go. So probably just these 3 or just DI in the beginning, just 20-25 questions, you are sure that you are clearing the cutoff, and then come back to miscellaneous problems later. Fine. So this is what I will do in quantitative aptitude. Another piece of advice here, small advice here, if you are not very good in arithmetic, let me just come back here. Again, this is not to scare you. There is a chance, a very little chance, but there is a chance, the way reasoning ability changed last year, it might change. I mean, I do not know if it's going to happen or not happen. Again, because of that same reason, that I think it will be very, very unfair to the people taking the slot, the first slot. It will not change much. But if you find, let's say, this comparison of variables missing or simplification approximation missing, fine, do not be scared. Whatever would change for everybody. So if it's 20 miscellaneous problems, it will be there for everybody. The cutoffs would go down. Believe me. So do not be scared. Be prepared. It might happen. Just keep that at the back of your mind. It might happen. Another advice here is that when it comes to miscellaneous problems, especially miscellaneous problems, a topic like this, whenever you practice, you mark certain questions as bookmarks. As if you're doing it from a practice book, you mark a star. I'll ask this from my teacher, my mentor, my friend. Revise all those questions. So this is a mistake that I've done very, very frequently when I used to take these tests. I would not revise. This is aptitude. Why do I need to revise? You actually need to. It helps. How it helps is that it's a speed test. Mains is probably not a test of speed. This is a test of your speed. 60 minutes, and you've got 100 questions to do. So there is a question which at times would sound very familiar. I've done this. But you cannot do it in 10 seconds. You would take probably a minute doing it, because you'll have to recall. Kya karta tha main isme? You do not have to do it. So I am that I am completely against mugging up things, against formulae, against stereotypes. But still, I am telling you at this stage, you have done your basics. You know everything. What is the harm in knowing 15 or 20 question types, which you know that if it comes, I'll do it in 10 seconds? Is there a harm? No. I did this mistake so many times. That's why I'm telling you, do not do it. Fine. If you know that I reduce the speed by this much, it increases by this much, I increase the speed by this much, it reduces by this much. There's a standard way of doing it. Just have that at the back of your mind all the time. You get the question, you do it in 15 seconds flat. You do not have time to think. So that's the reason I'm saying now this is the time to mug up. If you think there is a formula, I'm against formula, but if you think there is a method, I'll not call it a formula. If you think there is a method that gives you the answer faster in a specific type of a question, revise that. Do that now. Now is the time to do that. Fine. So that's something that I wanted to tell you. I also wanted to kind of clarify my stand of formula here. Formulas do work. Formulae do not work when you apply them mindlessly. There is a huge difference. Please realize that. If you know how we get the formula of compound interest, the formula that we have, then it's good, fine. The problem is that when you start applying it mindlessly, P की जगह ये रखा, R की जगह ये रखा, T की जगह वो रखा, that is the problem. You understand how you get that formula, it's wonderful. I told you that formula other day, I mean, about two swimmers reaching their respective positions after meeting each other, under root of T1, T2, you remember that? It's a wonderful formula, but you need to know how it happened, because if it changes slightly, then it creates a problem for you. So that's the time to revise, that's the time to work on your miscellaneous problems. These three topics I'm reasonably sure you'll do it. Number series ke liye my advice would be, again, do 500 questions like error spotting. Just do so many questions, everything that comes your way. There is a good chance that if you do 400, 500 good questions on number system, you would not find anything new in the exam. If something is new, if something is, relatively unknown, just leave it, yeah, just leave it. Do not break your head over cracking it. I am here to crack the exam. I am not here to crack a particular question. Please realize that. Number series question, no matter how good I am, if it's taking more than 25-30 seconds, I get a feeling that I'll crack in another 10 seconds. Maybe yes. After that, absolutely not. There is so much to be seen in the paper. Do not get stuck here. This is one thing at which you get stuck. Do not get stuck, move forward. DI, I do not think it's going to change much. It was very simple. It was simple here. It was simple in mains as well. I'll talk about it later. Fine. Miscellaneous problem, you can leave for later. I'll go to the third section now first. So this is the section that created problems to people in prelims also last year. What changed was, again, okay, let's talk about the good things first. Directions, 2 questions, very simple, very simple. Blood relations, 3 questions, again very simple. Fine, just do those 2 tutorials which I discussed. After that, directions, blood relations, nothing else, no other type is left. I'm not talking about puzzles, I'm just talking about directions, pure directions questions, pure blood relations questions. It's actually very simple. You will get 5 out of 5 in this very quickly. Fine. Mathematical inequalities, we already mastered it. We did 2 sessions on this. This is again 5 out of 5. So if nothing changes in the paper, these 10 marks are there for the taking. These are your 10 marks. Fine. Your 10 marks in 5-6 minutes. Get this first. No matter how fond of I am of puzzles or not, I would start my paper invariably with directions, blood relations, mathematical inequalities if it comes to reasoning ability. Reasoning ability for me in this paper in its current avatar, reasoning ability for me means directions, blood relations, mathematical inequalities. 10 out of 10 in 5-6 minutes. Cut off to ऐसे clear हो जाता है इसका. Then I will think about these. Now what happened last year here was that syllogisms, coding, decoding, all this was missing. I do not know if it's going to come or not. So last year there were 25 questions on puzzles. There were 5 sets. I'm sure, I did not take the paper, but with the feedback that I've received from people, I'm sure out of these 5 sets, 2 or 3 would definitely be easy. They would definitely be doable. But, I'm fond of puzzles, cracking puzzles, solving puzzles. If I were you, the first thing I'll do in reasoning would be these 10, and after that, I will not get into puzzles. I will look at some other section first and we'll come back to it later. The reason is simple, yeah. Puzzles, if you start with puzzles, you get stuck in a puzzle. A bad day, you get stuck. You end up feeling extremely bad about it. I wasted 3 minutes. What do I do here? So that's the reason I do not start with puzzles. Score everywhere first. Get those 30-40 crucial marks in the beginning very quickly, and then think about all these questions. So I'll talk a lot more about puzzles later. Another thing that I wanted to tell you here is that do not rule this out. This might come if syllogism comes. We have been very, very detailed about syllogisms. 2 sessions there. Watch it. This should be 5 out of 5. If it comes, it should be 5 out of 5 for you. This is concrete marks. This is not English. This gives you 5 out of 5. Coding, decoding, if it comes, this is again 5 out of 5. If something like input, output, something like that comes, that should again be 5 out of 5. So I'm assuming that it's 25 puzzles, then do these 10 first. If it's, some 15-20 puzzles and something from coding, decoding, syllogisms, input, output, something like that, then these 15 plus those 5 or 10 questions, whatever it is. You leave puzzles, you do not touch them in the beginning. Fine. Those 15-20 questions, you are done. Again, not more than 10 minutes, and then you move forward to the next section. So I am, to start this thing, I am just telling you parts of all the sections as they stand right now with this pattern, which I do not anticipate to change much for 17. If they stick to this, what you should do at the beginning of the exam, because this is a problem with so many people out there. They do not know what to attempt, what to do there. So again, if you ask me, do a lot of questions on directions, blood relations, mathematical inequalities. Look, this is something that is not going to count towards your final merit. You realize that this is a qualifying exam. So what you need to do is that if you think, let's say I'm not that good at puzzles, keep practicing it. But what you need to do at this stage is directions, blood relations, mathematical inequalities. You should be like so good at them that these 15 or 10 questions, whatever questions, I just get 10 out of 10, 15 out of 15 in 10 minutes. Fine, then you do not care too much about whether you are very good about not so good about puzzles or very bad at puzzles. So score where you think everybody would score. I told you leave puzzles in the beginning. I told you leave miscellaneous problems in the beginning in quantitative aptitude. I am fond of these areas. Why? Because it makes sense. So it will not depend upon what I am fond of. It will also depend upon, to a large extent, what are the easier sections of the paper. So these are easier sections of the paper as the paper stands right now, and I do not think anything is going to go 3 times more difficult in directions or blood relations or mathematical inequalities. I've seen all the papers, you've seen all the papers, the difficulty level would be around that. Whereas if you look at puzzles can be, it can be hell, it can be anything. Last year only you realized how difficult the puzzles have become now. So that's something that I wanted to tell you here when it comes to reasoning ability. If they stick to a 25, I do not think it's going to be 7 puzzles or 35 questions of puzzles. It's very, very unlikely. If it's like that, I mean, who can say that? But I mean, I do not think it's going to happen. You have to attempt puzzles. The cutoffs would go down. Even if you do 2, you would clear the cutoffs, I'm telling you. So do not be scared even if it happens. So just be prepared for this. Start identifying puzzles. I'll go to that also. How do you start identifying puzzles? First, let me just move forward and tell you a couple of more things. This is something that again people. Let me just come back on screen. This is now we are coming to the strategy part. So I already told you what to do, what not to do in sections. As when you talk about the current pattern of the exam, it might change. If it changes, nobody knows what's going to happen. Treat the paper on its merit. If it's like this, this is your strategy. This should be your strategy. Now the all important question: which section should I do first? It's a tricky one. I mean, if you ask me, it should always be something at which you are good. People say that it should be in the middle, the section that you're good. I mean, I do not see a logic. It's very simple. It's a what is it like? It's just a 60-minute test. 60-minute test, what would you want in the first 10 minutes? Just think about it. What would you want in the first 10 minutes? Would you not want 15 marks under your belt? I mean, would you not want an attempt of 15-20 questions? Isn't it common sense? Compare it to, starting with a puzzle in the beginning. No matter how good I am, let's say I get stuck. I waste some 5-7 minutes here. Just imagine what would happen. What would happen to my state of mind? Just imagine. 5-7 minutes, I'm nowhere. Somebody else has attempted 10 questions already. That's what I'm saying. Start with something that's your strength. So this is one way that you can think about it. Another way can be, that's another thought. See if it works for you. Do not think of this as 3 sections. That's another thing that you can do. Do not think of this as 3 sections. So one thing that I would have done had I been eligible to appear for this paper would be, if I had to do this paper, would be that I would pick questions at random from in between sections. For example, if you ask me what would I do, I would do something like this. सबसे पहले start करता हूँ मैं fill in the blanks से. So I put fill in the blanks first, then I do close test. Why? Okay, error spotting. I do not think English my strength, but this is 15 questions. How much time? 7 to 8 minutes. I do not care how many do I get right. Fine, but if I have to clear this paper, common sense says that I'll get around 10 right. If I'm getting 10 incorrect out of 15 here, then I'm anyway not going to make it. So if I get a reasonable number right here, around 10 or 12, or if you're good 13, 14 in 7, 8 minutes, that's a good beginning for me. That gives me a lot of confidence going forward, saying that I've already done quite something in the paper. I'll leave it here then. I'll not go to the para-jumble then. Then I'll go to simplification approximation. You already will have a good idea as to what exactly is there in the paper. You flip it up, or you just make some random clicks and check what all is there. I'll do simplification approximation. Then I'll do quadratic. Quadratic means why comparison of variables here. I'll do this very quickly then. In reasoning, I'll do those inequalities. Fine. So these are all those parts that I'll do in the paper. Just look at how much it counts to. I'll do blood relations and directions. Just look at this. How much is this? If you just count this, this is 10 marks here. Fine. This is 15 marks. This is again 10 marks, and I think I'm missing something here. What is this? This is 10 plus 10, 20. This is 35 marks. And with the breakup that I'm telling you, of the time breakup, you should not take more than 25 minutes in this. Now these are those easy marks that give you a lot of confidence going forward in the paper when it comes to tougher types. Yes, one thing that I like for is DI. DI can also be done. In its current avatar, it's very simple. So you add another 10 to it, it becomes 45. So these 45 marks, as the paper stands right now, are there for the taking. These 45 marks in what, 30-35 minutes, and after that I just look at maximizing the score. So these are the areas that you should attempt the paper. So why do you think I do this section first, that section last? If you think you want more than English, then you can probably do simplification, approximation, quadratic, and if you want DI first, fine, just devote 10-15 minutes, move to this part, and then finally to this part. So do not look at it as sections, fine. You just need to ensure that you do something everywhere so that you do not miss the cutoff. For that, something is there in all the sections. We have already discussed it. So how does it make a difference? So even if you give 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, and then you're left with 30 minutes in the end, it's okay with us. It's going to work with us. And what is the problem here? So this is one way that you can do it. Do not think about section. Somebody says, for example, Naveen was saying, I do not like English. I get too many incorrect. I get stuck. I do not like quant, and I do not want to start with reasoning, something like that. I mean, क्या करोगे यार? कहीं से तो start करना है ना. So start with the part that you can do fast. I can do FIBs very fast. I do 5 fill in the blanks in 1.5 minutes. So fast. I do not read them again. I mean, whatever comes to my mind by instinct, I just mark that. You do not have time, at least in a test like this. Closed test, I mark it very fast. Error spotting, whatever comes to my mind, I do it very quick. 15 questions, 5-7 minutes, I mark it, go ahead. I have that confidence that I've already attempted a lot of things in this paper. The worst crime that you can do in a paper like this is, let me just again come back here, let me just erase it and the worst thing that you can do to yourself in a paper like this is that you do not look at a particular question time. If you are very, very particular about accuracy, in English, if you think that I'll do just 15, get all 15, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Kabhi bhi nahi hoga, no matter how good you are. Fine. So please realize that when it's a speed test, in the mains probably I'll give you some other advice. But when it's a speed test and you know just 10-15 minutes for English, I will better do more questions, fine, unless and until I am reasonably sure that मैं ज़्यादा question करूँगा, मेरे ज़्यादा negative marks आएंगे, fine. So till the time it's such I'm in such bad situation, I would do more questions. For that, I read an error spotting question. Whatever clicks to me first, I mark and go away. You still have got 12-13 days to go, fine. Try this out. This is going to work for you. If it doesn't, then go back to your earlier strategy. This works for me. So there can be two things. What you can do is I'll talk about it later in detail, but you give it 15 minutes. Let's say English, you give 15 minutes, you do 20 questions. This can be one thing. Another can be you do 30 questions. In this, let's say you get everything you would never get correct. You get 15 correct in this. Fine. In this one, even if you kind of not maintain the same accuracy that you can here, I would still not mind if you get a 21-22 correct here. So your incorrect percentage increases in this one, but this still gives you more marks, and it invariably would be like this because you do not work that out. Please realize that you do not work the answer out in English. So it's slightly different here in this case. Now let me just give me a moment. Let me just read your comments. What do you have to say on this, and I will move forward. Just give me a moment. Let me read through your comments. If you have something else to type on the things that we have already discussed, please do that now. I am just reading your comments very quickly. Just give me a moment. Let me just read your comments very quickly. Okay, somebody says it takes time in searching those questions. Not really, yaar. It will not take time because they appear in bunches, fine, they appear in chunks. So all simplification questions would be together, all quadratic questions would be together. So there are some 6, 7, 8 question types that are easier. Whatever comes to or whatever appears first, you do that first. I mean, there are ways you can do it. You'll have to find them, but you'll not be wasting 5 minutes finding where is what. Okay, a lot of people have this problem ki finding that particular type of question. When we used to have that paper questions, question papers, now it's not a paper, it's an electronic medium. Fine. What I used to do was that the first thing that I would do would be just flip through it very quickly. The reason would be that I wanted to find out that obscure syllogism questions hidden somewhere, fine, carrying 10 marks for just 10 questions, 10 marks, 3 minutes affair. That's the reason why I advise you to just quickly go through it. Fine. So when it comes in front of you, you'll realize that okay, the first 5 questions fill in the blanks. What you do is that you click at question 6, 11, 12. What would it take? Just 1.5 minutes, but you would know very quickly what's there in the question paper. Just think about it. Let's say you look at an RC passage first or a puzzle first, and you start doing it. When you start doing it like that, you do not know what's there in the rest 90 questions. Probably they are much easier. So would you, in a test like this, in which you've got just 60 minutes and you have to optimize those 60 minutes performance, would you not want to know what's there in the question paper? You do not know if it's going to change. So for at least for the first slot, you will need to do this. Since it's not going to change much in the later slots, if your friends are willing to help you, you would know what's there in the paper. So you would know that way. But at least for the first slot people, it makes sense to know what's there in the paper actually. Okay. Okay, what do you attempt after the questions that I told you? I'm coming to that. Yes, Tabassum, there were last year no syllogisms, but it does not mean that there will be no syllogisms this year as well. Nitin says, and how much time a puzzle must be solved? I'll come to that, but not more than 3 minutes. If it do not get in 3 minutes, go to the next one, unless and until everything is very tough, which I do not think is going to happen. Rajesh says DI is not going to be that easy. In the actual paper it was very easy, in the mocks maybe a little difficult, but that's true for puzzles as well. I'm just telling you about what was there in the paper last year. Okay. Sarit, I'm coming to puzzles. Okay, Nayan says we do not know how much time we have wasted at times. Yes, there is a timer going on. You would know how much time you have wasted on a particular thing. So this is about so I'm moving forward. So this is about what you started with. After that, this is 30-40 minutes and you have done some 40-50 questions. After that, it depends on your priorities. So you can if you feel confident, you can go to puzzles, because if you look at last year's pattern, there were 5 sets. 5 sets means 25 questions. If you want to get a 70 in the paper, how would you get a 70 without doing puzzles? You'll have to go to the puzzles. Just one advice for puzzles: do not do them in the end. I'll come to it because that's already there in one of the questions. Do not do them towards the end. For example, if you are at, let's say, 58 minutes, it does not make sense to start a puzzle. There's a good chance that you'll be left midway. So do not do it at that time, and just do a single question somewhere. As far as this thing is concerned, that the questions are spread out, all of you are saying that. At times they are, but most of them are together. So the simplification questions would be together, the quadratic questions would be together. It's not like that they'll give you one simplification question, then one quadratic question, then one question something else, then one question. I do not think it appears like that. Okay, so I was checking with Samir about this mixing of the questions. This happens at times. I haven't seen that in the actual paper. This has happened in the mocks as well. Fine, but the mixing is not like that. They'll give you one question of quadratic and one of simplification, then one miscellaneous problem, and one of something else. Even if it's mixing, it will probably break up 5 questions into 2 parts, 2 and then 3 or something like that. So it's not such a huge problem. I just want you to maximize the score and do not miss out on anything. So I'm not saying that look at 100 questions first and then take a decision, but look at something before attempting it. You do not know what's there in the paper. At least the first slot people will need to do it. The difficulty level of puzzles may go up and down, but the difficulty levels of all these types of questions would not vary much. That's another reason that I'm interested in all these question types and not so much in something like puzzles. So that's the reason why I'm advising you to do that. I'm going to the next question. Again, this is again a very similar answer to this one. People wrote to me saying that my brain just doesn't work that well when I start answering a test. And this is let's say, I think I'm good at quant. If you give me a choice to choose between a quant and an English, I would always choose a quant, because I think I'm reasonably sure of getting the questions with 100% accuracy. But if I have to start a test, I would not start with quant. The reason is simple. I'm rusty. I'm just not prepared. So in the first minute probably I would not want to do a quant, because my brain is not working that well. So generally what I want to do, if I have a choice here, I would want to start with again a fill in the blank or an error spotting something, so that I can warm up through them. So it actually happens. So if you start with a difficult puzzle or a quant question or something like that, you do not perform to your optimal performance when you start with something like this. You need to check it for yourself. I'm just telling you what happens with me. But if I start with something like that, because it is something, if you know, you will mark quickly. If you do not know, you would just skip or do some guesswork or move forward. But it is not really something FIB or errors or closed test in which you would think a lot. You would not think very hard, whereas in some quant problems you need to think very hard. So that's the reason that I would prefer this. So that way I would prefer to do English first as compared to reasoning and quant, because that works better for me. You need to find out for yourself, but I would not I would want to start with this and this. This especially should be good for people who say that my brain does not work well in the initial 4 or 5 minutes. It happens because it's a kind of warm up for you. There is another thing that you can do. Start solving something random, start doing some mental calculations. For example, you already know how to multiply 98 and 107, you know it already. So just start working on those things. So you are probably doing a warm up for your brain that way. So that can work for you. Even this can work for you. If you ask me what would I do, I would go with these. If I have a problem like this at the starting of the test, that invariably in the first 3 or 4 minutes I do not get anything, fine. So I will stick to something like this here. Another query that I had here was this thing. Just a second. Yeah, this was another query that I had. I waste the last few minutes every time I take a test. Now this is again a very, very standard thing, which is a problem with so many people here. My advice is simple here. Do not start an RC passage in the last few minutes. Do not start with a puzzle in the last few minutes. Fine. So the two things that will be a strict no in the last 5 minutes would be a puzzle will be very difficult unless until you are not left with a choice. I'll not do this. I'll not do an RC passage here. If you ask me, DI can be done. The reason is that once you go through the DI data, all the questions are generally different. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be different. So this can be done if it is left. But puzzle, do not start with it. RC, do not start with it. I'm telling you from experience again. What happens is that let's say if it's just 4 minutes left, I start with a puzzle. I know I'll crack it in 4 minutes. I keep looking at the clock. Invariably, I keep looking at the clock. So so those 240 seconds that are left are just going in my mind, in my subconscious all the time when I'm doing a puzzle. Okay, 90 seconds gone, 120 seconds gone, 150 seconds gone, and it will invariably mess it up. I would, if that's under my control, if there's something left, I would only do individual questions in the last 5 minutes or so, if you do not want to waste time. Fine, just do individual questions, it works best. If it's something left, if there's something left, there will be something left obviously. But a puzzle, no. An RC passage, no. Synonyms and antonyms, obviously you can do that. But if you read an RC passage in the end, I do not know how good that is. Check for yourself if that works for you. It never worked for me. So puzzle, RC are a strict no. Otherwise, do some individual questions that should come in handy in the last few minutes. But yes, this is the area of concern. Not many people score well in the last few minutes and the first few minutes. So streamline your strategy accordingly. Okay. This is again a very, very important question, in the sense the meaning of a fixed strategy would be that I do English first, then reasoning, then quant, and then the last 15 minutes I mix and match to maximize the score. Is it a good strategy? If you ask me, except for the people in the first slot, it's a good strategy. The reason is simple. They are not going to change their difficulty level. They are not going to change the pattern. They are not going to change anything after the first slot. So for the rest 11 slots, people would actually know in what order it's going to appear. People would know how many questions would be there. People would know the difficulty level. So if you already know that, use it. Fine. So you can have a fixed strategy that way. You would even know how good or bad the questions of based on puzzles were, or how good or bad the miscellaneous problems was, how good or bad or how many miscellaneous problems were there. Fine. So for people who are appearing on the first day or the first slot specifically, just be a little flexible in the sense that if it's 7 puzzles, it should not stump you. Fine. If it's 20-25 questions on miscellaneous problems on arithmetic, it should not stump you. It should not give you a feeling that I'm gone. Fine. Whatever is there for everybody. Please realize that. For the rest of the people, you can make a strategy, stick to it. One thing, you should have a couple of good friends who tell you exactly what appeared in the paper or what kind of paper it was. Fine, they should not misguide you on this. You'll be screwed. I've realized that people are very, very competitive here. You're actually mean when it comes to sharing stuff with your friends. Fine. So if you know that you've got a good advice from people, you can actually have a good strategy here. Fine, because you would know the difficulty level and everything. So this might work for you. Had this been just one slot, or everybody appearing in the first slot, then I would have said do not have something very fixed or rigid in mind. Okay, having said that, for the people in the first slot, do not be disappointed. I mean, it does not make a huge difference. It makes a difference, definitely makes a difference. It'll be easier for the people appearing on the second day, on the second weekend. It does not make a huge difference. Believe me, if you are prepared, you would clear the prelims. This is not happening in mains. Mains, it's just one slot, so everybody is in the same boat. Do you think it was a coincidence that they experimented to this extent in the mains paper last year with English and not in the prelims? It was no coincidence, yeah. Even these people are rational people, they're intelligent people. They know that if they do an experiment like this in the prelims, then it'll be unfair to the people appearing first. Fine. So that's the reason, that's the most important reason that I think it's not going to change much in prelims this time. Fine, but a change here and there, small change, 5 puzzles, 6 puzzles, 7 puzzles, 4 puzzles, these are small changes might happen. Coding appearing, syllogism appearing, puzzles going down, arithmetic problems not appearing, becoming 15, all these things can happen. Fine, so just be prepared for this. You can have a fixed strategy if it's working for you. Another thing, do not go by what I'm saying. Whatever I'm advising you, it's based on experience. Experience it first. You are taking mocks daily. Fine, experience it first. Look at what is working for you. Fine, stick to the strategy that you think is working for you. It should be hit and trial here. Try 4 different things. Whatever works for you, just stick to it. Fine. So these are not prescriptions that I'm making. I'm just advising you. I'm just giving you ways to think. Think about what would work for you. Experiment with it. Fine tune the strategy. Analyze it. If it's not working for you, go back to what you think would work for you. All right. Would go to the next question. Again, this is again a question that I do not know if it makes sense or not. Let's say if I tell you that 55 is a safe score. Fine. Let's say this is the score at which you would get a call in general category. Would you aim for a 55? Would you stop at a 55? Do you think my accuracy is such that if I do 70, I would get a 55? Would you stop at a 70 at an attempt of 70 questions? You would not. If you would not stop at 70, then what is the reason that you're asking a question like this? I mean, इस question को पूछने का औचित्य क्या है? समझने की कोशिश करिए. It's good to have an idea, but if the difficulty level goes up or goes down, you would know the difficulty level, the rest 11 slots. That's the good thing about it. You can probably aim a score, but don't do it in an exam. Probably you aim for a 55, you were good enough for a 65. Getting me? So it's always good to aim for 100. So aim for 100, aim for an 80, aim for a 90, and I do not mind if you are stuck at 60. It will be good enough to see you through. But do not aim for a number like that. Just pick the easier questions. Just treat the paper on its merit and score the maximum possible. Do not chase a number. If you have to chase numbers, probably do it for sectional cutoffs. 10 to sab mein lane. If nothing changes, 10 each in all 3 should see me through generally. But do not chase a number like this. It's not good for you. I mean, what would happen is, let's say, let's for a moment assume just last year ka paper sochte hain. Last year what happened? It was 5 sets of puzzles. Now one smart fellow should have realized quickly 5 sets of puzzles. Most of the people would be stumped. They would not score well here. They should realize that now I do not probably need 10 marks to clear the cutoff here, and I would make do with 7 or 8 marks, because this is 5 sets of puzzles and it's different. For example, let's say I'm appearing in first lot. I see 7 puzzles in the paper. Reasoning 7 puzzles. What is the first thing that comes to my mind? Okay, I'm gone. I'm not gone, yaar. Everybody is gone. Just think like that. I mean, I should be happy that I can manage it well. मुझे पता है 80% लोग तो इसी बात से ही कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे. That there are 7 puzzles. I'm gone. मुझसे तो होती नहीं. It happens with people. So if there is some uncertainty in the paper, cutoffs are going to go down. Make use of and use this to your advantage. Do not think that I am gone. Others are gone. I can handle this. Calm yourself in that next 1 minute and then work on it. Please realize that this is very, very important. What should do in a situation like this is just go for maximizing the score. I mean, for example, again, this is for people in the first slot. I am slightly concerned for these people. You find something outrageous in the paper. Fine. Let's say you look at this section of math. Fine. So this is quantitative aptitude. You look at this section, you realize that there are 25 arithmetic problems. What is the first thing that should happen to you? I mean, you look at this, you find 25 arithmetic problems. Let's say there is no simplification, no approximation, no quadratic. Fine. हो सकता है ना ऐसा? हो ही सकता है. वैसे तो हो ही सकता है, क्यों नहीं हो सकता? ये नहीं है. क्या करोगे? Do not get stumped. Do not think ये क्या आ गया, मैं तो कुछ करूँगा नहीं. Believe me, इसका कट ऑफ 5 नंबर से ज़्यादा नहीं जाएगा. क्यों नहीं जाएगा? Because 90% of the people are thinking like you. Who would do well here? All those people who are calm, who think कि अरे अच्छी बात है यार, सबकी बैंड बज गई, अब मैं स्कोर करूंगा इसके अंदर. Think like that. I'll tell you what, something very simple here. I just a moment. I was going through last year's mains paper. I realized that you had got 60 minutes for 35 questions in data analysis and interpretation. A good guy would score a 50 or a 55 there. You know what was the cutoff? 9 marks. Why? The paper was new for them. You did not realize that the SBI had reduced the number of questions from 200 to 155 and increased the time from 2 hours to 3 hours. What was expected? It was expected only that the paper would be tougher. Now if you do those questions now, you can do those 30 out of those 35 questions 60 minutes. You would score a 50. 9 was the cutoff. People struggled to get a 15 or a 20. Why? Because they did not anticipate it. Now do not let this happen to you. This would be more pertinent when we discuss the strategy for mains. But this is pertinent even now. Please realize that. Please realize that. Fine. Especially for the people who are appearing the first slot, please realize this part. This is going to be very, very important for you. Fine. Let me just read your comments and then I'll. Okay, not much, nothing new. Yes, first lot people are going to face the bullet first. Jitendra, I would have been more worried had this happened in mains. Fine, mains is the marks that counts. This is a qualifying test. Anybody who is well prepared, anybody who is good is going to crack the test. Believe me, it's not going to matter. So people on the margin, probably I'm a little worried about them, but most of the good people are going to go through. It's a slight disadvantage, I agree. People on the second weekend are at probably in the best possible position to crack it, but do not feel disappointed, and this is something that's not under your control. More importantly, this is not under your control. If something is not under your control, why worry about it? Yeah, leave it. Whatever has happened has happened. You are probably the bravest of the lot. That's why the SBI PO people have chosen you to take the first slot. Getting me? So the audio is working fine. I muted it for some time. I was reading the comments. Okay. All right. People are saying that the scores are fluctuating. I'm coming to that. All right. Okay, so this is another problem that people face. My marks in mocks haven't really been great, though I feel prepared. A lot of queries like that. I mean, I think I'm prepared. I can do questions. I can understand your lectures. I know everything, but I just cannot score in the mocks. The reason is simple. Yeah, I mean, the mocks are difficult. Believe me, most of the papers that you're seeing here are difficult than the actual papers. Fine, I'll give you a simple example. Reverse syllogism appeared in the paper last year in IBPS mains paper. I've shown you the actual questions. They were sitters. 30 seconds both the questions. I mean, see the data likha hua tha. Look at the reverse syllogism questions that appear in your papers. Can you even compare them? So they're much tougher. So if you're getting a 40 in an olive board or a grade up, it means it will probably score a 55 in the actual exam, or probably more than that. Do not worry about that. Look at your percentiles. So when you tell me I'm getting a 35, it does not mean anything to me. You tell me I'm getting this rank out of this, or this percentile out of this. Percentile is not out of. So if you're saying I'm getting a 95 plus or I'm 98 plus, that means something to me. If you're telling me I got a 35 in the last mock, it's nothing. It's all relative. You understand that? So do not get demoralized. Having said that, I would have been happy had these people been mixing up mocks. So my general perception about all these mocks is that they are on the tougher side. Most of these companies have been making mocks that are on the tougher side. I do not know what's the strategy, or is it to prepare you for the actual exam. But most of these mocks on the tougher side probably will get one or two easier ones towards the end. I'll be happy if you, because I do not want you to forget how to score more or how to get a 60 or 65 in the test. That's the reason I'm saying probably you'll get an easier test there, and it prepares you for this thing. But if you get a 45 here in olive board, do not be disappointed. Yeah, it's a good score. I think it's a good score. I've seen the paper. It's actually pretty difficult. 45 in a grade up, it's actually a good score. So do not worry about this thing. It depends on the paper. Look at your relative performance, not your absolute performance. Okay, so this is another question that that people keep asking. इसको मैं कब करूँ? Look, I'll break it up like this. RC and DI, there are three set-based questions generally here. RC is one, then DI, and then puzzles. So I'll put these two in one category, and puzzles is a different planet. I mean, ये तो अलग है. So if you talk about RC, if not anything, I'll do those 4 synonym antonym questions. I mean, ये तो मैं करूँगा ही करूँगा. हो सकता है पहले ही कर लूँ. Fine. I'll do this, and even the questions are not that difficult. The passages I found in the actual paper last year was easier than what you are seeing in all these mock test series papers. And this I'll do. DI was easier, so it does not matter if you do it in the end, in the beginning. You do it anywhere you feel you are confident. My problem area remains puzzles, even now, because I do not know what's going to happen in puzzles this year. One, I would not do puzzles towards the end. So this is number one, strategy number one for puzzles. Two, if I give it 2-3 minutes, if I give a puzzle 2 to 3 minutes and it's still not clicking, leave it. I'm telling you, leave it. It will keep enticing you. It would keep telling you that you already gave it 2-3 minutes. It will keep telling you, give me one more. Fine, after that one more. Okay, just one last minute. Okay, one last. कितना हो गया? 6-7 मिनट हो गए, काम खराब हो गया पेपर का. It'll keep happening. I'm telling you this thing because it happens with me. Fine, I just cannot leave a puzzle in the exam. So if I start with a puzzle, आधा घंटा भी लगेगा तो मैं कर दूंगा. But मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता ना. I'm not an aspirant now. It matters to you. So even if you're fond of puzzles, pick them up in the end. जब ज़्यादा कुछ बचता नहीं है करने के लिए. If you get stuck in a puzzle, it is gone. So it's a very bad feeling when you, after spending 2 to 3 minutes in a puzzle, you think, अभिषेक ने बोला था कि इसको ना यहाँ पर छोड़ देना है. It's a bad feeling. You think ये वाला एक तो दूंगा. Then it's 3 to 4 minutes. ये वाला एक भी दूंगा. 4-5. अब तो 4-5 मिनट दे दिया. Now I have to crack it. यार पेपर खराब हो जाएगा. ये भी दे दिया. इसके बाद भी नहीं हुआ. काम ही खत्म. Why? Because not you performing to your potential now. यार it's playing at the back of your mind. 7 minutes gone here. Fine. You think you'll be able to crack it now? No. Why? Because the pressure is already too much to handle. 7 minutes, it's 0 marks probably. Fine. What you'll do is ending up marking some random questions because of that partial table that you made here. यहाँ वहाँ पर A है, ये A कैलकाटा से, B बॉम्बे से है, तो ये वहाँ से होगा, कुछ भर भरा के मार्क करा, नेगेटिव मार्क्स आ गया. It happens. Do not get into a fight with the puzzles at least. With a quant question, I can tell you, if you do not get it if you get no clue in 40-50 seconds, leave it. Puzzle के लिए मैं आपसे ये भी नहीं बोल सकता ना. You do not get a clue in 40-50 seconds. You will need 3 minutes to get a clue. After 3 minutes, you realize nothing is happening. Just move forward. Move forward. It's like a gamble. I'm telling you. If you get stuck, you're ruined. Okay. Another advice when it comes to puzzles. This is again coming from somebody who is fond of solving puzzles. Look for puzzles that have got less data. Fine. So this is one puzzle. Fine. It is this data. This is one puzzle. This is another puzzle. Fine. Which one should I pick first? Yeah, common sense says I'll read this first. Why? Because this will probably take me just 1 minute to read. I'll at least know it looks doable or not. Now look at this one. यार कितना लंबा puzzle है. This will take 1 minute to read. This will take 2 minutes to read. And the amount, the effort that it takes to solve this one is not directly proportional to the length. Fine. It's definitely not directly proportional. ये तो बढ़ता जाएगा ना. I have to collate just this much data here. I have to collate this much data here. So even if you give me a sitter which has got this much data to read, it's very difficult. I do not feel like doing it. नहीं होता है, बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है एग्जाम के टाइम पे. इफ यू गेट इनटू अ लार्ज पजल, collating all the data and making the table in itself takes a lot of time. So if I were you, I would start with puzzles that look short. At least the puzzles that look short. So if there are, let's say, 4 puzzles, I would at least I will be inclined to read that one first, in which there is little data. I mean, you'll get a feeling कि हाँ इसे मैं पढ़ तो सकता हूँ. After 1 minute I realize, okay, this is arrangement, this is blood relation, auntie, uncle, daughter, son-in-law, what all is there, I'll leave it. What did you do? You just wasted 1.5 minutes here and moved forward. If you get your selection right in puzzles, it's going to give you marks. Last year it was not as if everybody left all 5 puzzles. People scored in puzzles as well, but those were people who made the right selection. I remember somebody telling me after this, I think it was a clerk's paper, IBPS clerk or some paper last year, सर अगर आप क्वेश्चन पेपर देखते तो आपको चक्कर आ जाता, समथिंग लाइक दैट. आई मीन आप हड़बड़ा जाते. मैंने कहा यार ऐसा क्या था. सो देन ही रिप्रोड्यूस्ड सम क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम सम मेमोरी बेस्ड सोर्स ऑफ सम इंस्टीट्यूट. It was a good question, a fairly tough question, a new question. I enjoyed solving it. But yeah, if there are 5 puzzles, why should it be the first puzzle that I solve? Are you getting me? There are some easy puzzles. Invariably होगा ही होगा. अगर नहीं होगा तो कट ऑफ कुछ रहेगा ही नहीं ना. If there are 5 puzzles, all are tough, nobody is going to solve anything. Believe me, if you can, if I can, just make a scale from 1 to 10. If here, sitting at this point of time, you can crack a puzzle of difficulty level 9, you would not be able to do in the exam. I do not do it. मेरे से नहीं होता. यहाँ पर अगर आप मेरे को 1 से 10 दोगे तो मैं 11वां भी कर दूंगा, एग्जाम में मेरे से 7-8 के ऊपर नहीं होता. इट हैपन्स इन एन एग्जाम यार, इट्स एन एग्जाम. द मोमेंट 2 minutes पास यू वुड स्टार्ट गेटिंग फीलिंग अरे यार 120 सेकंड हो गए, नहीं हो रहा है, व्हाट डू आई डू. It's very very natural, it's very natural. Fine, so look for smaller puzzles, look for easier puzzles. There are bound to be some easier puzzles. And with this I would also say that even while practicing you do difficult puzzles, because you do not know, probably all 5 are difficult, but you know, an art would be, which I discussed I think on day 4 or 5, an art would be to pick which puzzles to do first. So one would be the length of the puzzle, another would be how many straightforward data statements are there. A is the mother of B, B belongs to Bombay, B and C live on alternate floors, something like that. Direct data sets that you can put in the table straight away. So that's another art. If you haven't seen it, watch day 4 again, you would know how to pick puzzles first. I like puzzles, I would not do all 5 puzzles if I get a paper like what you people got last year. That's the bottom line. I mean, that's the gist of the story. I'll probably do just 2 sets, will get all 10 correct and would score elsewhere in the paper. That's the crux of this whole thing. Moving forward to the next question now. How to pick the right puzzles, again I've been speaking so much on it, and how much time to devote, not more than 2-3 minutes, because if it's an easy question, not more than 2. Somebody asked me, I can crack difficult puzzles but I take 7 to 8 minutes. यार सोच के बताओ, if the cutoff is around 50, you are saying 7 to 8 minutes for 5 questions. पहले ही मेरे को प्रॉब्लम है. 60 minutes के टेस्ट में, इन अ टेस्ट ऑफ 60 minutes in which you have to score at least a 50 or a 60, you are giving it 7 to 8 minutes. Now there is a good chance that to zero in on this set that you can do in 7-8 minutes, you probably only wasted some 3 or 4 minutes finding the right one. So is it worth it? No. If you want to know it. It's good. If everything is difficult, then you'll probably get through by just cracking one puzzle, and it'll also come in handy in mains. But for prelims, assuming that it's the same difficulty level, if you cannot crack a puzzle in 2-3 minutes or 3-4 minutes, it's not worth it. Believe me, remember this. I'm not talking about mocks. In mocks, probably you'll get one mock in which out of 5, 4 are easy. You'll probably get one mock in which there are 5 and all 5 would be difficult. I do not think it's going to happen in the actual exam. But these mocks actually prepare you for all eventualities in the exam. Fine. But generally, if the paper's difficulty level would remain the same, and you would come to know about it after the first slot only, fine. If it remains the same, out of 5 there will be 2 or 3 that will be easier. The task for you would be to find those easier puzzles. Another word of caution here: do not develop prejudice against some standard types. For example, I have seen people saying floor based नहीं होता है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है यार, floor based या box based जैसा कुछ नहीं होता है. Fine. It's just about an easy puzzle and a hard puzzle. People say seating arrangement, fine, it's a seating arrangement plus blood relation, fine, नहीं होता है. अरे यार ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. I'll show you a very simple question on seating arrangement plus blood relations. It happens, fine. You can say that generally this type is difficult, I'm okay with that. But if you think that there is a seating arrangement blood relation, just 5 lines, do you not feel tempted to read it? At least I do, and I generally do well in all these question types. So do not go there with a prejudice, do not go there with a bias saying that if it's this type of puzzle I can do it. No yaar, you cannot say that. If you think that you are good at a particular type of puzzle, that if it's a linear arrangement, single row, I'm good at it. No, I'll tell you, I'll give you a puzzle, a fairly innocuous looking puzzle in linear arrangement, people facing one direction, you will not be able to crack it in 10 minutes. हो सकता है. So do not have something like this. Treat the puzzles on what they are, not based on your preconceived notions. You might have priorities, it's good. For example, if I'm kind of fond of floor based puzzles, I generally crack many. So if it's the first puzzle that I read, then I'm okay. But do not think that I've given it 2-3 minutes, it's a floor based puzzle and I crack all the floor based puzzles all the time. Fine, I have cracked hundreds of them, so I'll crack this one. No, it does not happen like that. Believe me, it does not happen like that. There will be 101st puzzle that will stump you. Who knows, it'll happen on this 29th of April only. Please bear that in mind. Fine. So do not classify puzzles based on ये वाला type करूँगा, वो वाला type करूँगा. Look at day 4 again. I have told you the methods to select puzzles. This is one. Length of the puzzle, that is number 2. Fine. So these are the 2 criteria on which you will select the puzzle. Still, if you are lucky, you will probably zero in the right puzzle. It still might happen that the puzzle that you pick after applying all this turns out to be difficult. So puzzle is some kind of a gamble. I'm admitting it. It's there, but what is there is there. You do not have a choice there. Fine. Better learn how to take that gamble or how to place your best bet there. I hope I have made myself clear here. We'll move forward. Again, a question based on puzzles. This is important here. This is important because again, let me just come back on screen now. This is important because I have seen puzzles with so much data that I could not gather enough courage to solve them even while practicing. I mean, why would you want to do them? Just honestly, I mean, think about it. Why would you want to do a puzzle which takes you 15 minutes with all your sincerity, sitting in the comfort of your bedroom with your air conditioner working and all kinds of snacks lying there in front of you, still cannot crack it in 15 minutes? Do you think you will be able to crack that in the exam? No. Fine. So if you find a puzzle like this, if you want to do it for as a brain sharpening exercise, do it. Fine. I do not mind, do it. I am fond of solving tough puzzles. But if you think it's going to help you in the exam, in the sense that you would crack that insanely tough puzzle in the exam, you would never do it. Fine. I'm being completely honest with you. I think I can crack all kinds of puzzles easily. I mean, 10 minute लगेगा, 20 minute लग जाएगा, but I can crack everything. In an exam, I would not touch them. Why? Yeah, it's an exam. I need to maximize the score. The problem with doing these stupidly tough puzzles is that you get a confidence that I can crack everything in the paper. No, you are not going there for that. You are going there to maximize the score. There's a difference. You come back home, if you remember the data, do it then. They did not give you the paper, so you will not be able to do it then. Appreciate that puzzle, admire that puzzle, but do not do it in the exam. Do it in the exam if you think all 5 are equally tough. If all 5 are equally tough, then you are probably lucky. Nobody would be able to do everything. I'll be what? क्या बोलते हैं हिंदी में? अंधों में काना राजा. I'll be the one-eyed king in the land of the blind. This is what it said ना. अगर 5 मुश्किल आई, मैंने एक कर लिया तो मैं राजा हो गया. But ऐसा होगा नहीं, बहुत मुश्किल है. A question paper like this is always about picking and choosing the right questions. So it would be like this here as well. While practicing, it's okay. Do not waste much time. People post puzzles on the FB group. I mean, so much data. I do not even feel like reading them. And they will say, "Iska solution do." क्यों करना है यार? If you cannot do it yourself, somebody else tells you. I do not think you will be able to crack it ever in the condition of in the situation of an exam, under exam conditions. It will be very, very difficult. Very difficult. Rather than that, focus on getting easier puzzles fast. Are you getting me? There are two things. You start cracking difficult puzzles. So a difficult puzzle, earlier I could not do it at all, now I can do it in 20 minutes. That's one. Do it. Not for the paper. Easy puzzles or okay type puzzles. Earlier I could do them in 10-12 minutes. Now I can do them in 3-4 minutes. So this latter thing would contribute to your better marks in the prelims, not the former. So you start cracking difficult puzzles in 20 minutes, it's not going to help you much. You start doing difficult, easy puzzles or okay type puzzles in 3-4 minutes is going to help you a lot while cracking this exam. This is going to come in very handy when you attempt this paper. Are you getting me? Look for puzzles that seem realistic, reasonable, at least when the last 10-15 days are left. Do not fall into the trap of doing insanely tough, stupid puzzles with 25 statements, all kinds of relations in the word and all kind of arrangements, hexagonal to circular. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. If it's to you, then you can do it, or if it's fun for you, then do it, otherwise don't do it. Be wary of that. It's a trap. Okay, another question that I wanted to answer. There is a good number of people who say, sir, जो आप पढ़ा रहे हो arithmetic में, it's very good. Fine, but I cannot adapt to it. I can completely empathize with you. Believe me, I'm not saying बहुत आराम से आएगा. So if you're naturally good at numbers, बहुत आराम से आएगा. If you're not that good at numbers, let's say you're from humanities or you've left math long back, I'm not blaming you at all. But what you can do is, as I look at things right now, it's not going to play a huge role in your prelims. Fine. So when it comes to prelims here, fine. For prelims, whatever I have taught you in arithmetic and DI, fine. I'm not saying this is not important. This is definitely important. Do not get me wrong. Fine. But for prelims, it is not that important. You can clear prelims even if you are not very good at these two. With the way things stand right now, mains, you will be gone. I'm telling you, you'll be gone. If you do not get this, you will be gone. What it tells you is, fine. What it tells you is that if you're saying that I'm taking time, I'm fine. You take time to adapt, but you are just left with 2 months now. Fine. 4th of June is the date till which you need to understand all this. You do it like this, you will get an advantage. I'm telling you, if the paper is like that of last year, and the way I see a few people performing here in arithmetic DI, you would score a 55 out of 60. सारा काम वहीं पर ही खत्म हो जाएगा. You will be like miles ahead in the race if the paper is like that. And I've got a gut instinct that the paper would be like that. Even the name is different. Yeah, this is called quant here. Fine. What is it called? It's called data analysis and interpretation. DANI. That's the name. It's not quant. Fine. DANI क्या होगा? जो था last time वो क्या था? It's all arithmetic sets given in under the garb of DI. it's going to be extremely crucial. So you cannot adapt now, I do not have a problem, just keep doing it in whatever way you're doing it, but keep working on it. You would need it in the mains, and believe me, having said that, it's not very difficult to adapt. You are just being a little stubborn, you have learned a lot of things over a very, very long time, so it's a little difficult to adapt, I can understand. Just be a little open, you will understand it. I'm not forcing this at this stage because there are just 10 days left for the prelims, so I do not want you to screw up because of this. That's the reason I'm saying leave it for the moment. If you think it's a problem, get whatever you think you can get, but DI ke liye kam se kam kar lo. The things that I told you in day 13 and day 19, they are extremely important. Fine, do it, you can do DI faster. For arithmetic, apply it wherever you think it can be applied. If you have to think hard about applying my concepts, then it's not working. You know, just think like this. Let me just erase this and come back again. Just think like that. If it clicks to you spontaneously, then it's working. If you have to think, Abhishek sir ने क्या बताया था वो method कैसा लगेगा? It's not working. Believe me. For people for whom this is happening, it's happening spontaneously. जब मैं सोचता हूँ ना कोई question, the first thing that comes to mind is ratios. My brain works like that. So if it's working for you like that, that's the way. If you have to think, no, I do not need to make equations here, I have to think that method of ratios, it's not working for you. If it's not working for you, at least in the exam, stick to whatever you've been doing. Use options smartly. We'll do a couple of sessions on options. They'll come in very handy if you're not very, very good at adapting to this. But if you think that you can think ratios approach से कैसे होगा, in practice it's fine. Do not do it in exam. Do not get me wrong. If you have to think इसमें ratios कैसे लगाऊंगा, exam के अंदर बैठ के सोचोगे 1 मिनट, खराब हो गया question. Are you getting me? So practice के टाइम पे करना, एग्जाम में इसको मत करना. Do not get me wrong, it's for your benefit. If you learn this method, it will be wonderful. Do not experiment with it in the exam. That's the key. Okay, again a subject that's very, very close to my heart. People say that I lose crucial time and marks when it comes to incorrect questions, and there are invariably some incorrect questions in all these mock test series. Believe me guys, there are incorrect questions even in the actual exam. You get it all the time. And I have suffered a lot because of all these incorrect questions when I used to take all these papers seriously, because I used to get stuck. I mean, I'll tell you what would happen. Let's say you're doing a puzzle. I know I'm good. When you do it, you give it 2 minutes. You realize, yaar, ye to ban nahi raha hai. There is some problem here. That's data inconsistent. I do not feel like giving it up. What would happen is that I end up wasting 10-15 minutes on it, because the feeling is question kaise galat hoga, but ho jata hai galat. If you think it's not working out, I mean, if you think that there's a problem, if you think 40 seconds nothing is clicking, so either the question is incorrect, you're not getting it. Leave it in either case. Leave it in either case. So when it comes to this thing, do not treat it differently from a difficult question. Fine. What would happen because of incorrect questions is it's not just loss of time or loss of marks, not just this, it's loss of focus as well. Please remember this. It's an extremely bad feeling. It's an extremely pathetic feeling when you realize after working out after 5 minutes कि अब तो मैं इस पर research करके दे सकता हूँ. I can prove that this is an incorrect question. But what do you get in the paper? 5 minutes lost, 0 marks. If you get marks, everybody would probably get it, that 1 extra mark for that incorrect question. Do not fall into the trap. If you're not getting it, सोच लो गलत है. ये सोच लो मेरे से नहीं आता है. Leave it. Do not let this thing disturb your peace of mind. It happens in an exam. Believe me, I'm telling you this thing from experience. This is very, very close to my heart. I wish all these papers for like GMAT and GRE where you would hardly find an incorrect or an ambiguous question. But unfortunately, it does not happen with all these Indian exams. So bear with it. You do not have a choice here. Do not get stuck on questions here. Okay, this is again a very, very important part. I've already discussed this. I will do it again. मॉक टेस्ट को मैं कैसे इस्तेमाल करूँ, हाउ डू आई मेक द बेस्ट यूज ऑफ दीज मॉक टेस्ट. क्या करना है मॉक टेस्ट का, चलो मैं आपको बताता हूँ, फिर से बताता हूँ एक बार थोड़ा सा. यू टेक अ टेस्ट टुडे, फाइन, यू टेक मॉक टेस्ट, लेट्स से इट्स अ ग्रेड अप टेस्ट, यू टेक मॉक टेस्ट, टेक एनी ऑर्बिट नंबर, यू टेक मॉक टेस्ट 10, फाइन, यू टेक इट टुडे, it's a 1 hour test, you are done with it, fine. Give yourself a break of 15 minutes, check your score. Let's say you get a 42 out of 100, and that's your score. Fine, you realized here that you made marked 15 incorrect answers, the rest were correct. It's an okay type of performance. Fine, not great, not bad, it's like that. What is the next thing that you do? I'll tell you what most people do. This is what I used to do. Fine, I'll take mock test 11. Why would I take mock test 11? Because I'm feeling like so bad about this, and just 42. I mean, how can I get a 42? I'll get a 52 here. Yeah, think about it. Did you do anything different in this mock test 11 from mock test 10 that you'll get a 52 here, considering or assuming that the difficulty level is the same? No. You did not work on it. You did not analyze the paper. How would this 42 change into 52? And even if it changes, it can be because of two reasons. One, that the paper is easier. Two, you got lucky this time. Now, would you want to leave it to chance for you to get a 52 in the mains? No. No, that's a crime. That's a sin. What you do next after taking this mock test 10 is you analyze this paper thoroughly. What do I mean by analysis? One is that I look at all the difficult questions. Fine, look at their solutions. Try and optimize the solutions. That's just one part. That's just one part of the analysis. That's the first part. You probably give it 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever. You look at all the questions, look at their optimal solutions, look at what you could have done better in them and things like that. The most important part of the analysis would be question selection. Most important part, question selection. Did I select the right questions? For example, in this, you got a 42, you got 15 incorrect. Iska matlab kya hua? Your attempt would be like 60, 65, something like that. Did I choose the best 60 to 65 questions in the paper? That's the question that you need to answer. And that is the most important question. If you can sort this out, your job is done. I mean, I'm not saying that all of you would qualify. You are right. Yeah, 30-40 lakh people appearing, just 40,000 would qualify for the mains. How can everybody qualify? That you can be in that 30-40,000 if you work on this analysis. Fine. This is going to work only when you analyze your mocks thoroughly. Fine. What you need to answer for yourself is, let's say I did 65. Fine. I left 35. Could it have been some other 65 here? Or could it have been a 70 or a 75? Were there 5 questions which were numbered 96 to 100 in my set, and I could not have a look at them because they appeared in the end, the poor souls? Think like that. It happens. I'm telling you, it happens. जब आपको ये लगेगा ना कि मैंने ये छोड़ा है, you need to kick yourself for that. Kick yourself for that. I did not do this because it appeared at 96 to 100. And what is this the way to do the paper? Then you will tell me, sir वो कहीं छुपे हुए रहते हैं, आसान नहीं होता ढूंढना. तभी तो मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ. In the first 1 minute, just a cursory look. ऐसे ही आपके buttons दिखते हैं ना, 1, 2. This is not even a paper, so I can flip through it. Paper होता है मैं बोला just flip through it quickly. 4. The buttons are like this. What would I do? Would I be in your place? Had I been in your place, 1 तो खुलता ही है. You are here. Fine. This is 5. This is 10. This is let's say 21. It goes like this. I'll do this. I'll click on this. I'll get an idea क्या है. I'll click on this. I'll get an idea क्या है. I'll click on this. I'll get an idea. I'll click on this. I'll get an idea. Would it take me more than a minute to know what's broadly there in the paper? No. जो बाद में आएगा उसको मैं बाद में देख लूँगा. But it'll give me a broad idea as to what's there in the paper. Once I get a good idea, I'll attempt it accordingly. But I would not leave a difficult and easy question for this. Now this is more of a problem for you in the mocks because the mocks are unpredictable. For the rest 11 slots, the paper would be predictable. So it will not be a huge problem here. Fine. But you should still analyze where are the areas where I'm scoring, which are the areas in which I'm messing it up. You might get a feeling that I'm very, very good at puzzles. You would realize that, okay, I get 2 puzzles right, but I spend 25 minutes there. Then you're not doing well for yourself. Look for these things. Can it be some other set of 65 questions? In fact, another thing that I told you before as well, there is to be a score for you which you call your optimal score in a test. This is not, this is a score that you could have got. Let's say you got a 45. Fine. You realize that had my question selection been correct, I would have got a 57. Now this is something that I call your optimal score. I'm not saying that I tell you a wonderful shortcut to a question, you say, oh, अच्छा ये पता होता तो मेरा 57 आते. नहीं. I'm just saying, had you selected the right questions for yourself in your limited capability, you would have got this 57. So this 12 marks deficit, this needs to be reduced. That's what I mean by analysis. When you take mock test 11 of grade up, you did 10, you got a 45 or a 42, you think you got a 57, you could have got a 57. In the next test, you take test 11. In the next test, even if you get a 37, but at the end of the test, you analyze it and say, nahi yaar, even if I had done everything right here, I could have not have gone beyond 40. It means that you did it right here. Fine. It means that the cutoff would be lower. It means that your question selection as per your ability was spot on, almost there. Reduce this deficit, that's question selection, that's analysis. If you still do not get it, I do not know how to explain it to you. This is an exercise that takes time. I mean, there is no hard and fast rule how much time to give or how to do it. But if you go from 10 to 11 without spending time on this 10, it's a grave mistake. It's a sin. You do it, you do not get anything from your mocks. You get from your mocks only when you analyze the tests and start working towards your mistakes. In fact, it should be like this. This is 10, this is 11, you go to 12, you go to 13, 14, you keep doing like this. Take 2-3 test series. It's a very reasonably priced product. You can buy 2 or 3 test series. After 14, you realize now it's optimized. Your actual test, the D-day, it should be just another mock for you, and it works like this. It works like this. और भी उसमें कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं होता है. It should, you do not experiment in your actual exam on the D-day. Fine. It should work like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. You keep on improving. Fine. When you think it's optimized, बस रुक जाओ वहाँ पर, or just take one mock in 2 days, something like that, and just take your test. Then the actual test you perform to your potential, and it works like that. It should be nothing new for you when you take the actual test. अगर आप actual test तक experiment करते रहोगे, I've seen people doing that. Good people know their concepts, but just keep experimenting. I mean, if it's something new in the paper, do it. But if you think it's your routine stuff and you're still experimenting, you're not doing good for yourself. That's a crime. Do not do it. अगर पेपर बहुत मुश्किल है तो कट ऑफ नीचे चले जाएगी, आपका फिर भी क्लियर हो जाएगा. बट कुछ स्ट्रैटेजी तो होनी चाहिए, कुछ तो मेरे को पता होना चाहिए कि मैं पेपर में क्या करने वाला हूँ. डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट दैट आई कीप रिपीटिंग, ट्रीट इट ऑन इट्स मेरिट. ओके, दिस इज अगेन अ डिफिकल्ट वन फॉर मी टू आंसर. मेरा रूटीन क्या होना चाहिए, मेरा टाइम टेबल क्या होना चाहिए. आई हैव सीन अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल ओवर इंटरनेट actually prescribing a lot of stuff. I do not believe in prescribing. Samir has never prescribed anything to you. I have never prescribed anything apart from saying normal Lewis पढ़ लो, reading करो, ये करो, वो करो. I would never say things like दिन में 3 घंटा इंग्लिश पढ़ो, 2 घंटा मैथ्स पढ़ो, 2 घंटा और 16 मिनट okay puzzle solve करो. I would never do this. Yeah, this is stupid. If you want to do anything of this sort, make goals for yourself. Goals like what? Okay, let me just remove myself. Goals like this. I would read 50 pages from this book. Fine. So whatever book is this, I'll read 50 pages. Fine. I will learn 25 new words. Fine. I'll do this. I will do this. I will do 100 miscellaneous problems from quant. Fine. I will do this. Fine. I will practice doing 5 puzzles. Okay. I will do 5 DI sets. You set yourself this thing, the time would take care of itself. So do not do it like मेरे को आधा घंटा रीड करना है. अरे यार आधे घंटे रीड करने से कैसे पता चलेगा, मेरे को आधा घंटा पजल करना है. You do puzzle for 30 minutes, someday you will do 5, someday you will do just 1 puzzle in 5 minutes. Set yourself realistic goals and these would vary. Otherwise I would have told you 50 pages होगा कि 100 page होगा. Somebody reads 50 pages in the same time in which somebody else reads 150 pages. So set yourself realistic targets. Push yourself hard, really, believe me, do not be soft on yourself. Push yourself really hard and kick yourself really hard if you do not achieve your targets. 50 pages read करना है, 25 new words I have to read, 100 words, old 100 words I need to revise, I have to do it. 100 miscellaneous problems I have to do it. Practice simplification, whatever, do it. I mean, make your schedule in a manner in which you are able to finish everything by the time your exam day comes. Fine, do it like that. Somewhere squeeze in between all this, somewhere squeeze in your mock tests as well, analysis as well. I'm not giving you time because the times goes, if I give you time slots, it goes awry and then you will think that it's not working. Fine, एक दिन आपका खराब होगा, आपको लगेगा सब बिगड़ गया, छोड़ देते हैं, अगले दिन मूवी देखने चलते हैं. It should not happen like this. Give yourself targets like this. So if someday you do 45 pages, next day you know it's going to be 55 pages. Set yourself realistic targets, stick to them, follow them religiously, and it would make your timetable. It would not help if I tell you that the best time to do puzzles is 11:30 to 1:15 in the morning. And how would it help you? यार नहीं, मेरे लिए नहीं काम करता था कभी, आपके लिए भी कभी नहीं करेगा. Do puzzles whenever you do feel like doing puzzles. So give yourself some freedom. You're not kids. The thing that you need to realize is अगर मेरे को एग्जाम के पहले I have to do 1000 problems of miscellaneous arithmetic or miscellaneous whatever you call it, miscellaneous quant. Fine, I have to do it. अब कैसे आप करना चाहते हो ये आपकी मर्जी है. You do it on an alternate day, you do it daily 50, alternate day 100 problems, it depends on you and everything is fine with me. There is just one advice that I'll have for you here. Fine, there are 3 broad subjects, 1, 2, 3. Fine, and in maybe there are further subjects. For example, if you talk about reasoning, there'll be puzzles and there'll be something else. If you talk about quant, there'll be DI and there'll be quant. Do everything daily. Fine. So if you're talking about English, read daily. If not anything else, read daily. Fine. Do puzzles daily. Do DI daily. I mean, there should not be a span of 4 days in which you say, I'll not do even a single puzzle in these 4 days. I'll not read in these 4 days. I mean, it disturbs your routine. And it's more of a, for example, I'll say like this. Even if I think I'm wonderful at arithmetic, you just keep me away from it for a month. I'll not do well. it's more of a, you know, getting into that groove kind of a thing. If I'm doing it today, you give me a paper now, I'll crack it fast. You keep me away from it for a month, on the 31st day I'll not be that good. So plan it like that. I mean it works like this. होता है उस तरीके से, फर्क पड़ता है आपके परफॉर्मेंस पे. तो इसमें किसी में भी ज़्यादा दिन का गैप मत करना. And when it comes to reading, I'm telling you, I mean you leave reading for 2 months, you read on the 61st day, you would realize your speed has gone down. It happens, yeah, it happens. So read daily. You know, as the exam is coming closer, probably read for 2 hours, 3 hours daily. Miscellaneous stuff, read stuff that you do not like reading. Push yourself hard. I do not like philosophy, medicine, I'll read it. I do not like sports, I'll read it. I do not like economics, read it. At least some parts of it, because if the passage is from there, if the sentence is from there, you will not feel comfortable otherwise. If you do it like this, you will feel comfortable. सब कुछ थोड़ा थोड़ा रोज करना है. Make a schedule around it, make it for yourself, it'll work for you. If I give it to you, it'll not work for you. Nobody's schedule ever worked for me. Mine would not work for you. Yours would work for you. I can just give you advice around that. I hope I made my point clear here. Okay, another important point. This is a very good point that somebody pointed out. I want to talk about this. I do silly mistakes in maths. I'm good, but I make silly mistakes. How do I rectify it? There's a reason why I do it. I do it, I did it, I still do it. That's why I can tell you that it works like this. When I practice casually. Fine. So for example, one of you throws a problem at me in a class. What I'll do is, इसको 2 करा, 3 करा, ऊपर कर दो, नीचे कर दो, आंसर आ गया. तुम बोलोगे सर 2 नहीं 3 आएगा. हाँ 3 कर दो. Do not do it. I can afford to do it because I'm teaching now. Fine. As a test taker, you cannot do it. It becomes a habit. Fine. So the target should be like this. Again, visually ज़्यादा अच्छा समझ में आता है ना. I give you 100 questions. Fine. 100 miscellaneous problems or something in quant. The target should be that you get all 100 correct. Fine. If you give me 100 questions now I'll know how to do all 100. But I'll just get 90 correct. Why? मैं 10 को ना stupid mistakes कर दूंगा. I can afford to do it. You cannot. You cannot. And how do you work on it? By getting 100 out of 100 correct. It's a task. Even if I give you an 8th standard छोड़ दो, वो तो आपके लेवल का ही है. अगर मैं आपको 5th स्टैंडर्ड का पेपर देता हूँ ना आज मैथ्स का, I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. चेक कर लो इसको जाके. 5th स्टैंडर्ड की बुक देता हूँ NCERT की. You take this book, you do 100 problems from this. Not many people would get 100 out of 100 here. If you get 100 out of 100 from there now, then I can tell you, now you are on the right path. You will not make these silly mistakes. All of us are humans. We make stupid mistakes. The way is only one. You practice like that. जैसे टेस्ट मैच की बैटिंग के लिए प्रैक्टिस नहीं करते, आउट ही नहीं होना है, इसमें गलत ही नहीं करना है. आई डू नॉट हैव टू गेट इवन अ सिंगल क्वेश्चन इनकरेक्ट. दैट्स फॉर पीपल हु थिंक दैट देयर बेसिक्स इन प्लेस, they know the concepts, they know everything, but just cannot do very well in quantitative aptitude because they did and made stupid error in 2 of them. No, it would not happen on the exam day. It should happen from the practice itself. When you're doing 100, the target should be that I get all 100 correct. Now, since you want to do it, extremely fast, at times it would result in stupid errors. But at least they should not be casual stupid errors. There is a difference. I'll explain the difference again visually like this. So it should not happen that I have to do something like this. 5 minus 3 करना था. फाइन, मुझे पता है ये 2 होता है और मैंने इसको 1 लिख दिया. मेरे साथ तो ये होता है. 5 minus 3 को 1 में लिख देता हूँ, 5 minus 3 को 2 की जगह 1 मैं लिखता हूँ, आप सब भी लिखते हो. एंड यू विल से अरे इसमें क्या हो गया, इसको 1 डालो आंसर ठीक आ जाएगा. अरे यार, you do the same mistakes in the exam. So when I'm doing this, I need to be 100% attentive. And इसकी आदत कहाँ से खराब होती है? I'll tell you the root of it. We have all studied from these 8th, 9th, 10th standard books which had all these answers at the back of the book. पीछे होता था ना. So at least I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do it very fast. 1 2 3 4 5 6 देखा, पीछे आंसर चेक करा, अच्छा 3 गलत हो गए, 1 2 3 कोई बात नहीं, सो ठीक कर लेता हूँ. That's the root of the problem. I never focused on getting 10 out of 10 correct in the first go. That's my problem because I thought किसको देख के फिर से करेक्ट कर लूँगा, और वही मेरे को एग्जाम में भी प्रॉब्लम करता था. Are you getting it? So when you focus on getting everything correct in practice, though it does not matter to you, then you get everything correct in your actual exam. Then you get everything correct in your mock exams. Do not do it casually. And this thing can be extended to even other areas. For example, I'm slightly off topic but important for you nevertheless, just giving it 1 minute. For example, you have a descriptive test coming up. Fine. You know that you will need to write. People face a lot of difficulty in this era of WhatsApp and Facebook and whatnot. The problem is they do not write well. Why? they would not write the correct spellings, they would not use the right punctuation, they would not frame the correct sentences. जैसे हिंदी लिखा उसी को सीधा सीधा इंग्लिश में, मतलब क्या करते हैं, दिस इज हिंदी, आई जस्ट ट्रांसलेट इनटू इंग्लिश लाइक दैट, हो गया. ऐसा नहीं चलता है यार. इफ यू वांट टू डू वेल इन ए डिस्क्रिप्टिव टेस्ट, स्टार्ट राइटिंग गुड इंग्लिश फ्रॉम नाउ. क्या तरीका है उसका? Even if I reply to somebody's FB comment here, fine, since this is important for me, so I'll write in at least decent English. So I'm not saying that I would write flowery English here, no, but I would at least use the right punctuation marks, right spellings. I would at least start the sentence with an uppercase letter and things like that. It would actually help you in the exam. The problem is that you're using this language. Would you go? Yeah, this is like you write. I mean, would you go? I mean, देखो क्या होगा वहाँ पर, वुड यू गो को ऐसे लिखोगे ना. फाइन, इसका मतलब क्या हुआ, आपको अभी से ना इसको पूरा लिखने की आदत डालनी पड़ेगी. मेरे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, दिस इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर मी, बट दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू. राइट इट लाइक दिस. बाय द टाइम एग्जाम कम्स यू विल बी गुड एट इट. फाइन. If you want to do well in your group exercise and your interview, you want to speak in English, in good English, start speaking now. It would not happen on that day. I mean, D-Day पे एकदम से नहीं होने वाला है ना. तो जो भी चीज़ आपको इंप्रूव करनी है, चाहे वो रीडिंग हैबिट हो, चाहे वो राइटिंग हैबिट हो, चाहे वो आपके मैथ के सिली एरर्स हो, कुछ भी हो, उनको प्रैक्टिस करने की जरूरत है. इट वुड नॉट हैपन दैट वन डे आई गिव यू मैजिक पोर्शन, सुबह ठीक हो गया. नो, वर्क ऑन देम कॉन्शियसली. यू वांट टू राइट वेल, start writing well even on WhatsApp from today. You want to speak well, start communicating with your friends in English. Fine. You want to avoid these silly mistakes. When you practice, kick yourself on the back when you get do not get this and get a 9 out of 10. Do not say अच्छा 9 तो ठीक है. No, ये क्यों गलत हुआ, ये नहीं होना है. This 1 mark would be crucial for you in the mains exam. Realize that. Prelims शायद आप कर लोगे, mains में every mark would be crucial. And if you are aspiring for an SSC CGL, it would mean a difference in the rank, and you know what that can do to your future. Fine. So just be very very wary of these things. That's why I devoted a lot of time here. This is extremely important. Okay, another one. I score lots of negatives in English. What should I do? I mean, what should I advise? I score a lot of negatives in English as well. I mean, my strategy is simple. I do a lot of questions in English. So this is different for all the exams. Had this been a GMAT, fine, I would have said spend a little more time. उसमें तो time वैसे भी standard ही होता है, but the questions are very concrete. They are not ambiguous. Fine. So they work like mathematics in a way that there is a perfect answer. Here in our English, unfortunately, there are questions to which there are ambiguous answers, or there are ambiguous interpretations. You get multiple answers. There are questions that are not that great, framed in a I'll not use that word, in a stupid manner, but you have to bear with it. So you will invariably end up with some negative marks in English. What you can do is, again I'll use graphics to show this to you. The thing that I said again, you give it 15 minutes. Now it's your choice. You do 15 minutes, you do 20 questions, or you do 30 questions. If I give English 15 minutes, I would want to do all 30. The reason is very simple. मुझे पता है मैं negative तो इसमें करूँगा ही करूँगा. There is no way that I will not get a negative mark here. Fine. I would focus on getting 20, 22, 25 if I'm good here, rather than just doing 20 and focusing on getting an 18. This 18 is never going to happen. If you're that good at English that you'll get an 18 out of this, doing this 20, then out of this 30 as well you'll get a 25. खुद ही calculate करके देख लो यार किस में ज़्यादा अच्छा है. You attempt a 30, get a 25 correct, or you do an 80 and get an 18 correct. No, if you're good, if you're not good, you'll not get an 18. If you're good, you'll get this 25 as well. So the point is that you should not, for example, if you look at a question like error spotting, you should not read it 4 times. The moment I read a question in error spotting, I answer it by instinct. Do not remember कि उन सर ने बताया था ये वाला रूल होता है कि सिंगुलर वर्ब के साथ में प्लूरल नाउन नहीं जाता है और प्लूरल के साथ में, अरे नहीं यार, you cannot do this in an exam of 60 minutes. Just work on your instinct. If it clicks, okay. If it does not click at all, just leave it, move forward. Do not try and figure that out, work that out. Maths का क्वेश्चन नहीं है कि फॉर्मूला लगा के आप निकाल लोगे. Do not do it in English. Fill in the blanks है, close test है, the first thing that comes to your mind. Now experiment with this in your mock tests. Do not apply my strategy while you are going to the actual exam straight away. The reason is that these things work differently for different people. I know that if I increase my attempt in English language, my marks would go up. There are people who say that जितना ज़्यादा attempt उतने ज़्यादा negative marks. अगर आप उस वाली कैटेगरी में फॉल करते हो, then I'll say just pick 10 or 12, 5, 15 questions and just hope that you clear the cutoffs. Just give it 10-15 minutes. Those 10-15 questions where you think you can actually clear it. And a good area would be parajumbles. Why parajumbles? there is no grammar requirement there, it's all logic. Fine. If you think I do not know vocabulary, I do not know, I cannot do closed test, fill in the blank, I would still say just have a cursory look. Why? Out of 5 questions probably you will get 2. कुछ तो आसान होगा. Then do something like a para jumble. Work on your vocabulary, you will probably get those synonyms, antonyms correct. Work your way around it. Fine. But do not say that I get a lot of negatives in English. I am yet to meet anybody. I've seen very good people here who say that I get 100 out of 100 in English correct. It never happens. Not in this English. Maybe in GRE or GMAT or SAT English it happens. Even there it's difficult. But in this English it's never going to happen. So do not feel worried if you think you get some negatives in English. The key would be not spending more than 15 minutes on English. Even if I intend to do all 30 and I get a 25 correct, I will just give it 17-18 minutes. It does not deserve more than 17-18 minutes even if you do all 30. 20 minutes, no, I mean, I do not think you're doing it right. If you're very good, you will not take 20 minutes. If you're not so good, you will not score 30 out of 30. Fine. Are you getting me? So it doesn't make sense. Now let me just read your comments very quickly and see what do you have to say on this. Okay, Gaurav says that is it a good strategy to do RC with 90-95% accuracy? Return rates are high, error correction makes lots of negatives. Gaurav, my answer would be, I mean, based on the, it depends on the paper. If you get a passage like last year's passage, I will say you can do it with 90-95% accuracy. But error correction, the good thing is that I get a feeling that I can do 5 questions of error correction in 1.5 minutes max. Fine. This is the way I do it. I'm not saying everybody will do it that fast. I'm not saying I'll get all 5 correct. On a bad day, I'll get 2 incorrect, 3 incorrect probably. But the good thing is that even if I get 2 or 3 incorrect, I did not waste more than 1.5 minutes there. I would not read it 4 times because probably if I read that question 4 times, in place of 3, I'll get 4 correct. But it's not worth the time that I'll be spending on it. Try and understand what I'm saying. Had it been mains, I would have said concentrate on accuracy. It's just a 60-minute test. So the strategy is different for different tests. If you think for this 90-95% accuracy in RC, you have to give it 7 minutes for those 6 questions, it's not worth it. I will probably say just mark those 4 antonyms, synonyms in 1 minute if you know them and just move forward. For those 5 questions or 6 questions of RC, if you think you can do it in 5 minutes, do it. उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम लगाओगे, it's not worth it because you will take some time reading the passage, then some time answering the question, and there is an inferential question, you might get it incorrect. I've been going through all these test series tests that you are taking. At times some passages are actually very difficult. I just hope they do not give you difficult passages in the prelims, but it might happen. So just be prepared, treat on its merit. Do not go there with a mindset I'll get all correct in RC. They can give you a very tough one with slightly ambiguous answers. Okay, anything else? Kushmeet says 1.5 minutes to solve 3-4 questions in RC. Kushmeet, at least look for those 4-5 synonyms, antonyms questions here. I mean, you will take another half a minute. Probably you will know 2 or 3 if you have worked out on that. Okay. Rajarshi says, should I just focus to clear the cutoff in English? I told you already, if you are good enough to clear the test, cutoffs should not be a problem. Because cutoffs itne kam hai, out of 50, the sum of the individual cutoffs is 20-25, you're not going to miss it unless you ignore a section completely. Cutoffs clear uske ho jane chahiye for anybody who thinks he stands a fair chance of clearing the final exam. So usme problem nahi hona chahiye, but do not do injustice to any section. Fine, so 10 minutes is the minimum that you give to any section. I'll say in fact 12 or 13, and this section invariably has to be English. If you're doing a reasoning or a quant in 12 or 13 minutes, then God knows where you're planning to spend the rest of your time there. Fine. So I do not know. किसी भी section में cut off miss करेंगे तो this will be a disaster. English में ध्यान रखिएगा, no matter how much time you give, even if I give you 30 questions and give you 1 hour, full 1 hour, you will not get 30 out of 30 correct in all these tests. I mean, I can say with almost 100% certainty you will not get everything correct. Okay, Purna says, a good question, when do I make calculated guesses? I make calculated guesses all the time. I mean, I make them all the time. I can eliminate 2 options, I'll mark the answer. I can eliminate 1 option, I mark the answer. I'm not saying you to do that. You will say, sir, तुक्का मारने के लिए बोल रहे हैं. It's, you know, it's proportional. It's 1 by 4 negative marking. There are 5 options. The probability evens it out. If I can eliminate 2 or 3 options, I'll mark this. So, for example, in synonyms, antonyms, I know that these 2 words cannot be the meaning, and there are just 2. I'll go with an educated guess. So I do it all the time. Check for yourself. आपके लिए काम करता है कि नहीं करता है? करता है तो I'll be happy if you mark it. It makes sense. Educated guesses, I'm saying. I'm not saying akkad bakkad bambe bo. Fine. Educated guesses means you've got 5 options A, B, C, D. B, C, D आंसर नहीं हो सकते. I'll mark one of A or E, whatever I think looks more likely. Practice this, you will get better at that. Okay, anything else here? Pratham says, I want to score 15 plus in English. Pratham, why would you want to set yourself targets like that? Set yourself targets like, I want to score a 65 plus in the paper. If you set yourself targets like 15 plus in English, you will probably need to compromise with some crucial marks somewhere else. So do not set yourself targets like this. Targets should be clearing the sectional cutoffs easily by 2-3 marks, by a margin of 2-3 marks in all the sections, and maximizing somewhere. Now this somewhere can be anywhere for you. Alright, English में negative आएंगे ही आएंगे, आप कितने भी अच्छे हो. Again something, do not laugh. This is genuine problem with a lot of people. I score better in the mocks that I take at night as compared to the ones taking during daytime. It happens with me, it happens with a lot of you. Most of you are night owls, I can see that. Most of you are active on Facebook during nights, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning and all. It happens. My advice for you would be very simple. I mean, this is not something that you can switch on and switch off. Fine. So if I have to do this, for example, let me just remove myself again. If my test is at 8 a.m., I think that's the first slot timing on 29th of April or whatever April. Fine. That's my exam. For the today I think is what 17th. No, I'm still left with, that's the earliest that the test can happen. 29th इसके पहले तो किसी का नहीं है ना. So this is 17th. You still have got 12 days to go. सोच लो जेट लैग हो गया. आपको पता है ना जेट लैग क्या होता है? Fine. You are into a different time zone now. You migrate to the US. Whatever happens, change your body clock. You have to do it. What will happen invariably is, for example, somebody like me, who generally sleeps at like 4 in the morning. As a routine, I'll not be in the best possible shape of mind, physically or mentally even. I mean, I just cannot take a test at 8 a.m. yaar. I just cannot. This is bad for me. I mean, you ask me to take a test at 8 a.m. This is the best time that I can take a test would be 2 in the morning. Fine, no test happens at 2 in the morning. So I do not have to do it, but you have to do it. Since you have to do it, and this is going to happen at 8 in the morning, try sleeping by 10 o'clock. I mean, कुछ भी करना है, कैसे भी करना है, करो. You have to change your body clock. Practice your mock tests at 8 in the morning. Fine. You do not have to go to a center to take the test. You can take the test anytime. If you take my advice seriously, whatever your slot is, if it's 8 a.m. or 2 p.m. or whatever, you need to take 5 mocks at that same time. Now I'm being prescriptive here. So these are things at which I think a prescription works. Take 5 mocks at that exact same time. Your brain starts working like that. Your body clock starts working like that. You get used to stuff. Fine. So you know that starting 8 a.m. for this 60 minutes, I have to concentrate like anything. Fine. I have to perform to my potential. And it actually makes a difference to your performance in the exam. You keep practicing at 10 in the night. I mean, you take all your mocks here. Suddenly, you finish your last mock on 28th April at 10 in the night, and you take a test at 8 a.m. in the morning. I am telling you, boss, it's not going to happen. I mean, you will not provide your optimal performance in the test. You might say that I still cleared the prelims, I got a good score, I qualified, I scored better than the most, but this is not your optimal performance. I keep talking about your optimal performance all the time. Last 4 or 5 mocks, try to take it at the same time at which your actual exam is scheduled. So if it's scheduled at, let's say, 1 p.m. or whatever the slot is, I will take 5 mocks at 1 p.m. अच्छा, एक और प्रॉब्लम है. People would say I do not get shanti at my place at 1 p.m. Fine, there is chaos around. Somebody is shouting, somebody is doing this, so I take the mocks at night. Agreed, it happens with everybody. But you have to find time for yourself. Go to a library, do something. Go to a friend's place. I do not know what, but take the test at that same time. A few mocks, it actually improves your performance. Fine. If you generally like to work at night, I do not have a problem. Just change your schedule for these 12-15 days, whatever it is. Your brain starts working like that. Take some mocks at the same time. Make your body clock such that on the day of the exam, if you're scheduled to reach there at 8 a.m., fine, or your test starts at 8 p.m., you start sleeping at 10 p.m. When you start sleeping at 10 p.m. for the next 10 days, then only you will be able to do it on 28th of April. It would not happen suddenly. Fine. I used a very stupid way in my exam of sleeping sleeping early on the day of on the eve of exam when I took CAT for the first time. I will not advise you doing that. Fine. The only way that it works or it can happen is that you give yourself a window of 10-12 days wherein you practice doing it. So some mocks at that exact time. So if it's 1 p.m., 1 p.m., 11 a.m., 11 a.m., whatever time, and 10-12 days, change your body clock. You can come back to it later if that suits you more. For these 10-12 days, start taking your test like that. There is no magic potion that I can give you and you say that my brain starts working best at 1 in the morning or at 1 in the afternoon. No, it would not happen. You'll have to work towards this. Last 10-12 days, work on it. Again a query for many of you. Do not worry if I'm not taking some of the queries. I'll give you time to work on it, discuss a lot of stuff later. So I'm there, do not worry. Just this last 2-3 questions now. Again, people say I can crack questions but not in mocks because of nervousness. It happens here. I mean, again, this is not something that is new or that is unusual. If it's a huge occasion for you, if it's a huge occasion for you in the sense that you think that it's an important event, then it's bound to happen. So if it's happening with you in mocks, it means that you take your tests very seriously. It's good in a way that you take mocks casually, you score well. Suddenly on the eve of the exam, you would realize that why I'm feeling so nervous, why are there butterflies in the stomach. It can happen with you. It can happen with you if it's a big occasion. It's a big occasion here. I mean, it's a life-changing event. It's going to be a life-changing event for you. So some nervousness is okay. There is a term known as nervous energy. I do not know if you have heard about it, read about it. It's good to be nervous, slightly nervous. It's okay. If you're nervous, it means that your body is preparing yourself to do well here. Some nervousness is fine. If you're so jittery that your hands are shaking or something like that, then it's a problem area. I mean, you would not perform then. A good thing to do for all such people who feel extremely nervous in the mocks or while taking the actual tests would be that if you feel extremely nervous, I mean, your hands are shaking and all. I have seen people sweating. I've seen people's hands shaking and all. Just relax, take a deep breath and think like this. What would happen if this does not click? नहीं होता सिलेक्शन, क्या हो जाएगा? कुछ भी नहीं होगा. ऐसे बहुत सारे एग्जाम्स मैंने फेल किए. कुछ हुआ है क्या? कुछ नहीं होगा. You would immediately feel better, much better, much better. Now I'm saying, now this is only for those people who are sincere. This is not for casual people. आप लोग कुछ नहीं करोगे फिर. For casual people, it's good to be slightly nervous. This is for those people who are so sincere, so studious, so hardworking. उनको लगता है this is the D-day for me. If I do not perform today, I'm gone. 1 year is wasted. It's for those people. Just think, if it does not click here, I do not do well here, क्या हो जाएगा? कुछ चेंज होगा जिंदगी में? कुछ नहीं होगा. Probably an IBPS, probably an SSC, probably some other exam. कुछ चेंज नहीं होता. It gives you a relief. It happens immediately. I mean, it works for me. I think it would work for you. It works for most people. जिस समय आपको लगे that the situation is getting the better of you, find the occasion is getting the better of you, just think like that. If it doesn't click, what would happen? You will immediately feel better. I've tried it so many times, it works for me. I'll tell you something here. I gave my first interview when I was just 17 years old, just passed my 10+2, and it was an interview for an engineering entrance. Fine, who takes an interview of a 10+2 pass out for an engineering? But yes, there was a college who took an interview. I was so nervous. I mean, I did not know what to do. I knew that I will not be selected. I had not prepared, but I was still so nervous. I mean, the occasion got the better of me. There are just these 4 guys sitting here asking me these questions, asking everybody these questions, screwing everybody's happiness. How do I cope with it? The only thing that I told myself was, कुछ नहीं होने वाला यहाँ पर तेरा, चिंता मत कर. And it works like that. I mean, it happens here. I mean, why did I get nervous? I was wearing a round neck T-shirt there with some print on it. I saw the guys with jackets and ties. I was nervous. I mean, क्या पहन के आया हूँ, डांट के भगा देंगे मेरे को, something like that. मैंने अपने को ये समझाया, सब कुछ ठीक हो गया. It's a different matter what happened in the interview. It went really bad because I was not prepared. So that's not the point. The point is, I mean, when you feel that the occasion is getting the better of you, just tell yourself nothing is going to change if it's not going to happen, and you feel slightly better. You feel much better. You feel much better, and you perform well. Only for people who feel nervous. We still feel nervous when we have to perform. When if you have to address an audience of 2,000 people, you feel nervous. It's that nervousness that makes you perform. Fine. So do not think it's a negative. You do well if it happens like this. I mean, what happened with me was slightly amusing in the sense that the first question that these people asked me was, funny question, how many stairs did you took while you came to the first floor for this interview room? मुझे कुछ याद नहीं था. I mean, it was on the first floor. बस मुझे एक ही चीज़ याद थी. Somebody told me do not bluff in the interview. I said, सर मुझे तो याद नहीं. ऐसे ही. They said याद कौन रखता है यार, वैसे बताओ अंदाजे से. तो I said, सर अंदाज़ा लगाना भी काफ़ी मुश्किल है. So you can imagine the state of mind. I just 17, I mean, did not know anything about the interview. This is just to tell you कि मेरे दिमाग में बस एक ही चीज़ थी, नर्वस नहीं होना है. People were, उनके आप फेसेस देखोगे वो so grim, it felt like कि रो देंगे अभी. मुझे ऐसा नहीं करना था. I messed it up big time, but I was not nervous. So you can control your nervousness like that. Selection एकदम ही नहीं हुआ यार. नीरज कैसे होता selection इस पे? आपने सोचो ना मैंने क्या आंसर दिया था. I said कि अंदाज़ा भी नहीं लगा सकते. It was a nothing question to which I gave a less than a nothing answer. So कैसे होना था. चलो let's move forward. This is again a question people keep asking. Which books, which guides, which portals? Again, no prescription. Again, I'm telling you this thing. No prescription from my side. I do not prescribe anything. Samir does not prescribe anything. We do not prescribe anything. What I'll tell you is this. I'm writing it here so that you get it once and for all. A good question bank. You need a good question bank. Fine. It has to be a very, very good question bank. What do you mean by a good question bank? That exposes you to all the possible kinds of questions. Fine. पुराने questions, नए questions, CAT के questions, इसके questions, उसके questions, all the kinds of questions. Fine. So it can be an R.S. Agarwal, it can be Sarvesh Sharma Saxena, whatever that book is, or it can be some other book. I do not mind because the questions are mostly the same in all the books. Fine. So it does not make a difference. When it comes to portals, यहाँ तो और भी खराब है. It's like blatant copying. So one day I was checking, I was checking some, I think it was some directions or some topic for which I wanted to find out the type of questions asked. I followed 4 popular portals. I would not name any. आप मानोगे सब कुछ में सेम था. Even the order of the questions given was the same. What it means is that it's nothing else. यार सब same है. So no portals for us, no guides for us, no books for us. Only thing apart from these tutorials that we have done for you, you can watch it now, you can watch it again, it's available, it would forever be available on YouTube. Fine, would be a good question bank that gives you ample practice on all the possible kinds of questions. Fine. In this question bank, just follow one advice of mine. If you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fine. If you encounter some problem in question number 3, just mark it. 5, just mark it. Why? Because you would not be doing 1000 questions later. You would just be, you just have very limited time. So I would want you to revise these 50 questions later, which were marked star. And this is especially useful for puzzles, for DI, for quantitative aptitude, and even for some words in vocab and error spotting. Fine. So there are some areas in which this works. Do it. The day or 2 days before the exam, do these questions. It'll come in handy. Bookmark it, note it down, click it, photograph, whatever way, but do it. Apart from that, we do not recommend any guides, any books, any portals, just a large question bank. I do not care if it's an e-question bank, it's a physical book, it's whatever it is, everything would do. Just since we are discussing this, one other thing, in all these books, you get incorrect questions. I mean, there was a debate going on in the morning on some question. Somebody said, ये तो answer option में नहीं है, कैसे ठीक होगा? यार गलत दिया हुआ होगा ना. You find so many incorrect, ambiguous questions there. Believe in yourself. Believe in what you are studying. Fine, you are better than the book. Book में यार सोच के देखो ना. Think about them. There are 10k questions, 10,000 questions. Can the answers for 100 questions not be incorrect, or can there not be any ambiguity in 100 questions? I would say, had this been an international book, probably no. Everything would be correct. That's a dream situation. But in India, it does not happen. You get incorrect questions, you get ambiguous questions, and at times you get some stupid concepts as well. Ignore them. Fine. Data mining karna सीखो. I've got this resource at my disposal. What would I select from here? I'll select that part that is important for me. So, is 10k questions में से probably some 2k questions are wonderful. I would focus on those questions. जो repetitive है उनको मैं छोड़ दूंगा. Help others. I know you do not like helping others. You know it's very, very competitive, but still help others. You tell him 10 good questions. Share on FB. Fine. They would share some 10 good questions. So in place of doing 10k stupid questions, I would just want to do 1000 wonderful questions. Fine. So our objective going forward would be to give you a question bank like that. Unfortunately, it's not like that with us at this point in time. So some bad questions, some good questions, some mixed bag. So do everything. Do from anywhere. Help your friends. Make a note of good questions. Revise them. Find optimal methods for them. Create stereotypes for yourself. Do not believe in stereotypes of others. So I should not be telling you 10 kinds of questions. You should be telling yourself So these are the 10 kind of questions and that come in time, speed and distance and maybe an unknown 11th type, and I know how to do all these 10 questions very, very quickly. And then you can use any resource to do all these questions. I hope I made myself clear here. Okay, another question, another question that people keep asking me. I'm working, I watch all your sessions, I get everything, I do not get time to practice. What do I do? If you do not get time to practice, you might clear the prelims if you're good, fine, but you would not clear the mains easily. If you're very good, I mean, there are people who are very good, you might do it, fine. You might say, I do not take any test, just a, 100, 200 questions, I crack it, wonderful, but it will not work for most of the people. Just 2000 seats, some 30-40 lakh people, 3-4 million people. I mean, how would it happen? Yeah, it means that you are a prodigy if it's clicking for you. It's not going to help. People ask me, if I watch your sessions, would it do? No. You watch my session and then you practice 100 questions on it, and then you will feel super confident about yourself. This is not going to work. I do not know what's the way out. Take a sabbatical, fall ill, do whatever, do some cheating, you do it all the time, so do it for your career. Fine, tell your boss you're not well, do anything. Last 12-15 days, take a break, work for it. It's not going to happen otherwise. Now this is a far more important area than the previous one. So some people have their jobs, so they cannot manage time. Now there are some people who actually have their third year graduation or fourth year engineering exams, final year of graduation. Now this is an area about which I would say your graduation exams, this exam, fine, this comes first. That if I were you, I would concentrate on this first. When I was you, I did not do that, so that's a mistake I did. Of the many mistakes I have done in my life, fine, do this. Why do this? You will probably take an IBPS later, you will probably take an SSC, there are hundreds of exams. This poor graduation record, this would be a blot on your career. This would be a blot on your CV for your life, and you will regret it the way I do. Fine. So do not let this happen to yourself. It's a mistake I did. I do not want anybody to do this to himself or herself. Let's say you do not study further. That's your final degree of graduation. Would a 57% look good? No, yaar. I would want you to get a 72 or an 82 or a 92 depending upon what stream you are studying. But do not compromise on it. One way of thinking about this, if you actually want to manage both, let's say you've got 5 papers. Again, a way of thinking. It's all in your mind. You've got 5 papers in your graduation. Fine. Do not think, let's say these are your graduation subjects. 5 subjects you need to clear in the month of April or May or whatever month it is. Fine. Just think of this preparation as a 6th subject. If it's like this, would you say, do you do these 5 papers for a 6th subject as well? No, you do for all 5. Na? So the way you're doing for all 5, do for all 6. So this becomes a 6th subject, but manage your time well. Fine. Do not think that if I'm preparing for SBI PO, it is some such thing for which I can afford to not concentrate so well on my graduation marks. Do not do it. There will be a criminal mistake. Do not let this happen to yourself. A lot of people think इसमें रखा क्या है, SBI PO clear हो गया तो मैं स्टेट बैंक चला जाऊंगा, वहाँ से I'll go to a private bank, I'll be drawing this much, that much, I can spoil my graduation. My request, do not do it. Fine, manage it well. I'm not saying leave your SBI preparation. Work extra hard, yaar. If others are giving 12 hours, you do 18 hours. But do not lose the focus on your graduation. It's extremely important. Its importance cannot be overemphasized. Please. Again a question. So this is for the late bloomers basically. Fine. I started very late. I get a lot of queries like that, and I'm sure a lot of you would be there sitting out there because I said I'll answer this. Can I make it if I work very hard in these last few days? So yes, you can. If you want an answer from me, yes, you can do it. Even if you start now, you can do it. You can do it even if you start after 2 days, 3 days. But there is just one thing that's that's going to answer this question, which I cannot answer, which only you can answer. Fine. What is this? Your current level of preparedness. It's very difficult for me to answer this question. Only you can answer this. Fine. Let's say you take your first mock, a difficult one. Fine. You had a 45 out of 100. I think you are on course. Okay? Just 5 more mocks, do all our lectures, you are through. You take your first mock, you are at 12 marks. Fine. You start, many of you, all of you know that, yeah, it's difficult, it's very competitive. Even 12 marks, getting 12 marks in the first mock is not that easy. I mean, just bilkul out of touch for 4-5 years, it's not that easy. You start with a 12 and then you expect it to get to a 55 in 10 days. Is it realistic? Not really. So I cannot answer this question, only you can answer this question. Are you prepared enough? your education background, your reading habits, your comfort level with numbers, all these questions would answer this question for yourself. I cannot answer this. If you are asking me, is this possible, realistically possible for you to crack this if you start this now? Yes, it's possible to crack SBI PO pre without even studying for a day. I am not asking you to do that. I am just telling you. Theoretically, it's possible. Is it possible to do mains without it? Very difficult, but again, theoretically, it's possible. There are people who are very good who will crack it like that, but you do not do that. If the question was asked because you had to kind of decide. Most of the people who ask this question ask this because they want me to answer this because they do not want to waste their efforts. अगर नहीं होना है तो तैयारी क्यों करूँ? Do not think like that. This would, even if you do not get through, there are just 10-12 days left, you just started. Even if you do not get through, it would add a lot to you. You will probably clear in IBPS, but do not waste this an opportunity. You keep taking these mocks all the time. What is the best mock that you can take? It will be the SBI PO prelims on 29th of April. So even if you are preparing for CGL, if you are preparing for some other exam, preparing for IBPS, take this test. Do not leave this test. It's a mock. It's a mock for you then. Take it seriously. If you clear it, wonderful. If you do not clear it, कोई बात नहीं, वैसे भी नहीं होना था. I did not work hard enough. So do not take it casually. Take it seriously. You still. So that's what I wanted to tell you here. For all those people who have a problem with this. अभी start किया है, कैसे करेंगे? Now this last question. After that, it'll be just your questions. I'll keep answering those. I'm preparing for both SSC CGL and SBI PO. Which is better? Which should I do? Which should I not do? There is nothing like that. I'll not get into the comparison. I'll get into the comparison only when you crack both. So if it's somebody who says, sir, I've cracked both, now tell me which should I go for. I'll ask you your priorities and I'll answer this question. Even in that case, it will not be a black and white no. No SSC CGL is better. No SBI PO is better. No. I'll ask you your career objectives, what you like doing, what you do not like doing, what is the kind of money that you want in life, where do you want to reside, and stuff like that, and I'll probably answer this. At this stage, it's meaningless. Most of the stuff that you're doing for SBI PO would be useful for SSC CGL. For what is the reason for you to not take this exam? Take both. For the time being, focus on SBI because it's happening first. Start studying some static GK for SSC CGL. Take both of them. Probably your priority is SBI PO, you get selected in CGL or the other way around. You do not know what's going to happen. It's fiercely competitive. Take both the exams. There is nothing like this is better, that is better. It will not happen. I'll pat your back if you get selected in both. Probably most of you would not get a chance to say, sir, kaun sa select karu. It's so competitive. I'm not discouraging you, but it's actually so competitive. So maximize your chances. What is the way to maximize your chances? Take all the possible exams. Take a syndicate, take a SBI PO, take an IBPS, take an NICL, take a SSC CGL, take whatever else comes your way. If you get selected in both, ठीक है. You feel good about yourself. If you do not, then it's okay. At this stage, just fill all the forms. Forms का वैसे भी कोई ज़्यादा पैसा नहीं लगता है, तो आप इसको सबको भर दीजिए. That's what I wanted to tell you. Now I'll just look at your comments, and if you've got anything else to say, please type in the chat window. Let me look at your comments, and please type anything else that you want to discuss in the chat window. Okay, anything else, any last couple of questions? I'm willing to take that. I tried to make this list exhaustive based on what I got in the Facebook group, but anything else, I'm willing to take that, because after that, 4 or 5 sessions on sections. Tomorrow will be a session on arithmetic. I'll take some leftover topics, probably a short session of 1 hour or so, 7 o'clock, and then we'll meet on 28th, a day before the exam. We'll not have time to discuss all the strategy and everything on 28th then. Okay, anything else? It'll be wonderful if you provide a question bank. Probably in some time. We do not have it ready-made with us at the moment. Okay. Kundan, this is a very valid doubt. Kundan says कि एग्जाम टाइम में बार बार टाइम देख के नर्वसनेस होती है, बट आपके पास कोई चॉइस नहीं है. टाइम नहीं देखोगे तो कैसे चलेगा यार, टाइम देखना पड़ेगा. डू नॉट लुक एट द वॉच एवरी मिनट. फाइन. सो द आइडिया वुड बी, एंड इफ यू आर डूइंग अ पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन, do it, and after that look at it. I mean, if you think a lot of time has passed by, then you can probably look at it, but otherwise do not get into it. If you watch the clock 60 times out of in a 60-minute test, it's bad. It's detrimental to your efforts, for your performance. Okay, I am getting a few requests on do a class on missing day or something like that. Whatever I think we have done is sufficient for you to see you through the prelims. I do not want to start anything new, any difficult puzzles, any difficult DI questions, because we have covered a fairly difficult level. If you can just understand that and do ample practice based on that, it'll definitely see you through the prelims. Do not learn anything new now. I do not want to do it. Some of you do not want to do anything new now. Just focus on your vocabulary. Fine. Just focus on your words, on your reading, on practicing questions. Do not learn anything new. We have already discussed missing DI both on day 13 and day 19. Look at that. That should be good enough to give you a very good idea. General awareness के लिए somebody is asking. General awareness के लिए we'll do it after the exams. Meanwhile, keep reading, keeping the banking sector specifically in your mind. It helps. Fine. Otherwise, we'll do just 6 to 8 sessions on banking awareness. They'll be good enough to give you an idea like that. Okay, let me just come back. Some people are saying essay writing के लिए थोड़ा सा idea दे दीजिए. Okay, just 1 minute on it, since some of you already want to start working on that. One thing that you can do is that when you read newspaper editorials, try summarizing them in your language very neatly, crisply, and the moment, let's say you are reading the Hindu, you read it, summarize that editorial, fine, in your words. Make somebody else read it, both the stuff, your friend, you can exchange it. You give it to yours, to somebody, you take somebody else's and you read it. Now, you ask the person whether these two things mean the same thing. So, it'll help you in two ways. One, you will know how to write well. It'll be a writing practice for you. Two, it would enhance your understanding in the sense that if the person says कि हाँ यार same ही लिखा है, then it's okay. If the person says नहीं, जो तूने लिखा है it's different, इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब है that you're not doing it well. इसका मतलब या तो you are not writing well or you are not comprehending well. Both are bad for you. So take it as an exercise. Do it daily. So till the mains you will probably be doing it 50-60 times at least. So do it. Take an editorial. Take a good piece that you think you have understood well. Write it. Rephrase in your words. Give it 10-15 minutes. Make somebody else read it. You tell the person I'll read yours. Read both. Give feedback. Do it with each other. You can probably use the Facebook group for that. Just do not summon me or Samir to check this all out for you. It will be very difficult. Do it amongst yourselves. You will know how to get started on writing. And plus that another advice that I gave you, write well. Fine. Do not use SMS language. Do not use short codes. Do not use stupid language. Hindi converted to translated to English directly. Frame proper sentences. You will get into that group. You will write well on 4th of June then. Okay, Madhu, again a pertinent question. 1 mock in a day or more. I do not mind if you take 2, but I do not think you will get time to take 2 in a day. Fine. So for me, 1 mock in a day is fine. Even if you take just 6 or 7 mocks starting today till the main exam, till your actual exam, that's fine with me. I do not mind. The idea is improvement. So if you are not improving your performance from today to tomorrow, fine. If you are not doing well in tomorrow's test as compared to today, you're not making use of the mocks. So these are not tablets that more you take, better you become at that. No, it's not going to work like that. So just probably maximum of 1 mock per day, because you'll do a lot of other stuff as well, reading and vocabulary and revising the questions and everything. Anything else? Okay, Sonal, this happens with me. Sonal says I always stuck on 2 options in English and I always end up marking the wrong option. Sonal, you can help others then. I mean, just tell your neighbor that this is the one that I'm marking and you mark the other one. This happens between Samir and me all the time. I always tell Samir that if I get stuck on 2, I always end up marking the right one. तो मुझे बोलता है कि ठीक है जो mark कर रहे हो बता दो, I'll mark the other one. It happens in English. What do you do? When you just feel that you are unlucky there. I mean, मुझे भी ऐसा लगता है जब आपको लगता है, so I can completely empathize with you. But it happens with English. You forget that there are 10 other questions which you got right with this thing. This English is never concrete. It happens, you get better by practicing. I read Indian Express but got no one to correct my mistakes. Devadatta, use our group, post it there. This is the article, this is what I've done. Correct me, I'll correct it for you. So you can make pairs or make study groups the way Deepak has done for vocabulary. Fine. Use it as an exercise. It will be very difficult to improve your writing habits in a short span. So it's a good thing you started today. Your aim is to clear the mains exam. Your aim is to get in to become an SBI probationary officer. The aim is not to clear prelims. So start with it right away. How many mocks should we do? I said anything between 6 to 7, from 14 to 15. Not more than 1 mock per day, because 1 mock 60 minutes, analysis 120 minutes, 3 hours. So if you take 2 mocks in a day, 6 hours gone. When would you study? So 1 mock per day would be fine. I got 30 marks. Is it possible to get 55 in actual prelims? Yes. From 32 or 40, 45 would be possible in 3-4 days of analysis, even in the mock tests. Aman, what do I say? Aman says that I covered 50% of your videos. Would it be enough to clear prelims if I attempt only mock tests now and complete the videos later? Aman, use YouTube navigation tools. Watch them quickly, plus please watch them. I mean, I would not want you to leave any part of the syllabus before the exam. I mean, I would not advise that. I will paste the link of the group shortly in this. It's on it's a Facebook group. All of you know it. I solve quant questions, but it takes time. Rohit, do them last. So do not start with solving those miscellaneous problems. Do them last. Madhu, SSC CGL, please. Madhu will probably be starting a course of SSC CGL. It's not finalized. We'll announce in probably in a week's time for SSC CGL. Just focus on this exam. We'll announce a course for it shortly. Okay, anything else? Expected cutoff? Do not get into it, Abhijit. Do not get into that expected cutoff mode. It can be anything. I mean, if I tell you it's 50, fine. You do not know. I mean, a couple of questions here and there, it becomes a 55. Do not chase the expected cutoff. Treat the paper on its merit. If it doesn't change much, the difficulty level, and I've got a gut feeling it will not change much, then around a score of 55 should be good enough to see you through in if you're a general category candidate. Vivek says मेरा एग्जाम 7th को है, जनरल करंट अफेयर्स रिवाइज करना शुरू कर दूँ. Vivek, no harm doing that. For people who are already getting a 65 or a 70 or a 60 in the various mock test series, start with your preparation for mains. Fine. Just be wary of this. There are good people who have seen missing prelims. Fine. Do not let this happen to yourself. Otherwise, you can start your preparation for mains. Start working on banking awareness, on writing skills and all. It makes sense. Safe attempts. Himalaya, difficult to say. An attempt around 70-75 should be safe. Depends on your distribution of attempts. It's better to aim for a 80 or a 90 and ending up at a 60. It'll be bad if you aim for a 50 and end up at a 50. I always put it like that. Maximize the score. Try to maximize the score. Even if you fall short by 10 marks, it's okay. What's the fun in aiming for a 50 and getting a 50? You might miss the cutoff as well. Okay. Yes, they for anybody whose exam is on 6, you are one of the lucky people here. You get a very good idea of what it's going to be like. I think this is pretty much it. Yes, fill all the forms, Ankit. This is pretty much it. This is with your comment. So this is again a lengthy session, but I think I addressed all your queries. You are not doing a session like this, and do not send us any mails or anything regarding all such queries now. That's the reason we did an exhaustive session like this. We are meeting again on a session like this on 28th now, a day before the first day of the exam, with this kind of stuff. Otherwise, an odd query, you can share it with us. But mostly this is all covered. In between, we'll do 5 or 6 sessions based on dealing with the sections. And tomorrow would be an arithmetic session. So this would be it from my side today. If there is anything else, you can write to us, or you can use our Facebook group to interact with us there. Fine, keep helping each other. You are not very fond of helping each other, I know that, but still I advise keep helping each other. It actually helps you. So if you solve other people's doubts, that make you better at the subject. So please do it. It's definitely going to help you in the exam. So I'll call it a day. Thank you for your patience. You have been a wonderfully patient audience here. I hope this is going to benefit you in the actual exam when it's happening here. Fine. So last few days, just give it your best shot. Fine. Practice hard. Just a few days to go. I wish you guys all the very best. Fine. Do well. This is going to be, or this is a life-changing event for you. Fine. So do not be casual if you're good. Do not lose hope if you're not been performing well. Still a lot of time left. You can change this in 12 days if it's not been clicking for you till now. Just do not give it up. It's extremely important. Even if you started late, just put your best foot forward. Just give it your very best. It is possible. I mean, 40,000 में तो सारे लोग हो सकते हैं ना. People keep asking us questions like, सबको कैसे सेलेक्ट कराओगे, लिमिटेड सीट्स, 10,000 का ऑडियंस है, 40,000 में सारे आ सकते हो ना. एम फॉर दैट 40,000 नाउ यार, इट्स फर्स्ट स्टेज नाउ, you can do it. I mean, what else do I say? Just believe in yourself. It's going to be important. Thank you very much for your patience. I'll call it a day now. Thank you very much.